I think I think Michaela's McKinley. God, I keep
McKinley.
wanting to say Michaela. McKinley. I think she's gonna think that I don't like her. Okay,
That could
let me
be.
try to send her a link
I'm sending
again.
it. I'm sending it.
You send it. All right,
Taking
he's
care of it.
damn it. Hey, welcome everybody. Welcome. Oh, hey, Uncle. Welcome.
How are you doing?
What's
Not
going
too
on,
bad. Not too
buddy?
bad.
Oh, not too much. Valhalla, you missed out on the 24-hour live stream because we auctioned off a kukri.
Oh no!
I can put you in touch with the guy who makes them for me, and because he does good work.
Yeah,
So.
definitely. You, I think I sent it. Hopefully, I sent it, McKinley. If not, I will try again.
We will send it again. And Half Irish, yeah, it's not like I've been streaming all day for you and your entertainment.
Actually, Ian, I heard that you had a pretty awesome streaming going on here lately.
The fundraiser stream hit 114,000.
That is so impressive, man.
Oh, I didn't expect to, like, I had set my goal at 50,000 and I didn't expect to hit it. And I was like, all right, well, we'll just do our best and see where it lands. And I was stunned. I ended up at number 2 worldwide, number 1 in Canada. And the person, like the person who's number 1 is Wizards of the Coast. So, and like they just donated in their own name. Like it's a big corporate donation that's number 1. So I'm like, all right, I'm feeling pretty good about that. Just
nice.
That's really impressive.
Well, it's going to a good cause. It's the Stollery Children's Hospital. It's actually donations rather than pledges, so they're not going to get Amber Hearded on this one. And
I believe at one point I pledged $500 towards your not donated, pledged $500 towards your challenge for the toolmark experts.
I've got to get that. I'm actually going to sit down at some point and write that up with like proper rules and then start contacting people to just generate a set essentially.
Yeah.
Like with all the and it'll just be like, here's a set of all of the bullet casings and so forth, and then we can start taking it to people, and it'll probably, try to make it a serious thing to be like, okay, can you do this or not? Like put up or shut up under strict conditions.
So do you know anything about this case, this Kaitlin Armstrong case?
I haven't been following it, so I understand that it involves some tool mark analysis, but
well, yeah, and so we have I'm going to say her name wrong every time. McKinley. McKinley is an attorney in Austen. She's been sitting in the courtroom and taking notes, and we also have Audra from our chat. I don't know if you know Audra. That's also in Austen. She's been sitting in there and taking notes. Well, we've been doing it. We've been just reading the notes essentially since we don't have cameras in the courtroom. And yesterday's notes, I was reviewing them.
There we go.
Here's McKinley. Welcome. Finally made it.
Have you met Ian Runkle yet?
Hi.
Hi. How are you doing,
McKinley?
Good. Nice to meet you.
Likewise. I was going to say I'm pretty sure we haven't met, but it's nice to meet you.
We have not.
So McKinley is a criminal defense attorney in Austen, and she's been hanging out in the courthouse. This is a courthouse where she works, and taking notes. And so we've been going over her notes as well as the ones that Audra has been putting together for us. And McKinley's been a great asset because she, we get it from both sides then, because Audra's not an attorney and McKinley is. And so it's nice to get that balance. When you're watching it live, you get a lot of feedback from different sorts of people. And so it's nice to have that balance. But as I was going through the notes today, the one thing that made me think instantly of you was that the defense asked the toolmark expert, does he ever compare bullets that he knows were fired from different guns and casings that he knows were fired from different guns? And he says, no. Why would we do that, essentially?
Yes.
And I immediately thought of you.
To test your skills, dude. To know that you...
Oh, yeah, he totally doesn't.
Yeah, and so that's what immediately made me think of you, and Gosney, in fact, too, because you guys are both heavily opinionated on the subject.
There's an old test of like reasoning ability, and I'll have to try to find it because I haven't been able to find it since I saw it the first time. But it's basically you get a couple of cards, and or there's like 4 cards laid out, and they give you the hypothesis of like all odd cards are red. And so they ask like how many cards, or sorry, all odd cards have red backs or something like that. And they ask like, how many cards do you have to turn over in order to determine this? And everybody checks the like confirmatory hypothesis, but very few people check the like disproving hypothesis. And that's kind of the key thing is you can't, and this is the fundamental logical error that underpins all or so many of the forensic sciences. I want to put a major scare quote on that because like you look at like hair and fiber analysis, and what they did was basically say, could we look at hairs and fibers and determine that they came from the same thing? But what they should have done is they should have said, can we look at a bunch of hair and fibers and exclude the rest of the world, which is really what you have to do for this. And it's what they never test. So,
yeah. And that's kind of where I was getting at. What was interesting too, is in the notes, I sort of skipped ahead to this part. So this is Stephen Ashton, who is the Austen Police Department Forensic Department Firearm Toolmark Examiner. But McKinley's first notes are, the jury is yawning. This shit is boring for sure. So I absolutely love the notes about the jury. You said, in fact, one woman almost like fell out of her chair at some point. One of the jurors. Oh, you're muted. Sorry. There you go.
Twice.
Twice she almost fell out of her chair?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so the jury's loving this stuff. And Jill Zahn is sitting on the row next to me and watching. Who's Jill Zahn? Do I know that name?
Jill Zahn is a witness today, or day 7.
Yeah.
She's a friend of Kaitlin Armstrong and
Christine
Armstrong.
Okay.
They went to the
RJ even
range
looks
together.
like he's falling asleep. So boring, man. Poor jury. So was this before the toolmark examiner took the stand? They were like falling asleep, or is this your general notes like during the questioning?
Yeah, it was so boring. I just decided to start writing about the jury and everyone else in the courtroom.
And then observation. That always sucks about trial is that sometimes you're like, I know everyone's going to be bored by this, and I still need it in the evidentiary record.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we were talking about all the wackadoodle training. Okay, so we were just talking about all the wackadoodle. Oh, so he's going back through the training of the toolmark expert. Is that what's going on?
Right.
Okay. Oh, and that's where the jury is boring. All right. Toolmarks, typical firearms are made. Wait, typically firearms are made with hand tools.
Wait, that makes no sense.
That's what he said.
Because not since like the 1800s.
Right. Not since like Civil War era has that been a thing.
Yeah, I mean, if you're talking about like a pirate, sure. But if you're actually looking at modern guns, they would have been produced.
Machine.
I may or may not have a handmade firearm.
I mean, I've had a handmade firearm. They kind of suck. I mean, they got rid of that for reasons.
Well, that's the beauty of modern firearms now. Is they're machine made and they're all made within a micro measurement of specifications.
I'm highlighting this. I'm gonna ask McKinley because these are her notes. So the question was, are firearms typically made with hand tools, or was that the answer?
No, that's what okay, so the question was that, and he said yes, hand tools. And then he said he was trained to examine certain hand tools. I think he said a hammer and a screwdriver, maybe. I don't know why he would have said screwdriver, but he definitely was talking about like actual tools that you would have in a tool chest.
That's weird.
he might have been making and I don't mean to impugn your note taking, but I have to consider the possibility. They'll often compare it to like hand tool marks, because like the comparison is like, let's say I take this knife and then I use it to cut something, right?
Yeah.
The knife has a shape, and a lot of the shape we can see, like you can see at the sort of macro level. But if you get down to like the micro level, it's going to have particular patterns on it. So even something like this thing is a leather tool. It's used for shaving down leather, and it's got a little razor blade in it. That blade is going to have little microscopic imperfections and defects. So if I were to drag this across ideally like a metal surface, because metal is kind of best for this, it leaves patterns that correspond to that in some fashion. So like if a chisel has a chip out of it, it'll leave like that gap with that chip. But for most things, you're not talking about something as distinctive as like a missing, like a chip or something like that. You're talking about like microscopic variations caused by sharpening, caused by wear, caused by all of these things. And so that, in theory, the idea is that it leaves a unique marking. The problem is that we've never actually tested how unique this is. And in actual practice, when you think about it, it can't actually be that unique in modern firearms, because when we look at
thought, I was thinking the automotive industry, right, from Michigan, and cars are rolled off of the assembly line. Things are made to lock in place. They clip in place. If something breaks, they pull out the old one and pop in a new one, and it fits the same way. And
that's one of the.
I mean, that's just what I'm thinking.
That's one of the things with the military weapons, right? They're all made the exact same so that you can do just that. If something breaks, you can just swap it with another piece from another rifle sitting next to you. It's an intentional thing.
It's not just military weapons. It's everything, right? Your car.
For sure.
Can you imagine how much it would suck if your brakes fail and you literally have to like get an artisan to hand make a new set of brakes that fits your particular car? Because that used to be what it was with guns. Like the trigger would break and a guy would have to sit there and file a new trigger and fit it specifically to your gun because they didn't have standardized parts. But
that was a big thing during the Civil War, was trying to modernize the firearms so that they were replaceable. The parts were replaceable.
Oh, yeah. And like replaceable parts in firearms and other military technology was a huge game changer. Like it made it entirely like a lot more possible to just be in the game. So, but the thing is they think each of these things are unique, right? Based on this tool mark analysis. And so let's look at, say, the, as an example, the rifling in a barrel. Well, that rifling is carved by basically taking the barrel and having a thing like grind through it. Well, that tool experiences wear, and eventually you're going to replace parts of that tool as well. So let's say it can do 10,000 barrels before it runs out or before that gives in. Well, maybe say 1,000 of them will look pretty similar because the wear will be within 500 before and 500 after are going to look pretty similar. So and they never actually properly test this to be like, if I get number 501 off the line and then number 502 off the line, are these things going to be different looking or are they going to look pretty much the same? And I mean, my expectation is that they'd actually look pretty much the same. And I can't imagine that they'd be able to tell the difference between that. But
I can't imagine they would.
Well, you know how scientific...
I can't imagine they would be able to tell the difference between number 500 and number 1,000 for that matter.
But they claim they can.
There's go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. I was just gonna say, like, we all learn in like elementary school, the scientific process is you come up with a hypothesis and then you test it, and you try to disprove it. And how would you try to disprove this stuff? Well, you would test it against in sort of like a blind or even a double-blind study of known projectiles and casings that were fired from different guns and see how they line up, as well as guns that were or projectiles that were fired from the same gun. And that's how you test this theory, right? And Runko, you've done more work than anyone else I know. To your knowledge, do they have any study like that?
They don't seem to. And when they actually get, the thing is the ideal would be to do something like, hey, let's pull out, we're going to pull out 50 Glocks, and it's going to be numbers 51 through 100 off this production line today.
That came off the exact same production line.
Yeah, we'll fire them, and we'll see if they're able to tell. Like, you get 50 casings, and those 50 casings are 51 through 100. And then you get a sample casing of match this to that. And can they actually even pick that out? If you want to do it on hard mode, what you do is you'd fire each gun twice. So you have 50, like 2 sets of 50 casings. And one is they have a label. It's like, this is number 56. And they have to match them. Can they put 56 to 56 reliably? Or does 56 go more or less randomly in that group? And I suspect it's more the randomly.
The federal government hands out billions of dollars to study cow farts and everything else. They will never fund something like this because it goes against the state.
Yeah.
That's exactly it. They don't want to fund it because the likely results, and there are some studies that have looked at it, and unfortunately, tool mark analysis fares fairly poorly. It was just recently thrown out in, now I'm trying to remember where it was that had that wonderful case that said, we don't consider tool mark like firearm ballistic tool mark analysis to be science. So we're tossing it.
That's a
recent.
U.S. case, right? Not Canadian.
That's a U.S. case, and I'm just trying to find it now. It's in my, I've got it in my sort of thing of interesting cases, because it's like, I think it's fascinating that we've got a case that says, hey, this is garbage.
Old-line red saying Maryland. Is it a Maryland case?
I think it might be New Mexico.
I was going to say Maryland. That would be amazing if it was like the East Coast or something that came out with that.
Oh, I'm just trying to find it now here. Unfortunately, I pulled it off of Pacer, so everything is has that same file name.
Oh, yeah. I know. It's really annoying. Stopping to show some love for the goat daddy.
Hey, Lady Love. How you doing, darling? Thank you for stopping by.
Well, while you're looking for that, we'll keep going through these notes a little bit. So
what notes are you reading right now?
Mine.
What day?
Yeah.
Oh, 7.
You sure?
Yeah. On day 8, though, this guy's still on the stand. You're reading the end of 7, but on day 8, this dude's still on the stand, and apparently he's on cross, and the defense attorney gets him to admit that he doesn't know anything about gun manufacturing, which is maybe why he said they were made with hand tools.
I would be crossing against that.
Oh, come on.
How are you?
I wasn't there, so I don't know, but I'm thinking that might be it.
Hey,
how are you the state's witness testifying about tool marking and have no idea about the manufacturing process of firearms?
Right?
Yeah, that's pretty critical to all of this.
That's insane.
So we don't have day 8's notes yet. Well, I do have them because Audra sent them all over. I just haven't looked at them yet. But this is still currently day 7. So this is yesterday afternoon, that this testimony is being provided. When the jury comes back from the break, they don't say. And by the way, the pink and purple text is essentially your thoughts.
Yep.
Okay. They don't sit in the same seats. They totally change it up. That's kind of interesting because that's not normal in my practice. Perhaps they are thinking it's easier to stay awake if they're in a different seat.
Mm-hmm.
It's also some jurisdictions will require them to sit in the same seat every time.
My jurisdiction does.
Yeah, the depth trial, they were always in the same seat, so we could, it made it easy to keep track of them. But
well, in Michigan, the seats are numbered, and you no longer go by your name. You're now juror number 1 or whatever seat you're in, 1 through 12 or 14 or 16 or whatever, depending on how many alternates you have. Did you all do yesterday morning? We actually skipped to yesterday afternoon because we have Runkle here, and yesterday afternoon they were talking about the ballistics. So that's where we are now. So did you find that case, by the way?
I'm looking for it.
It's okay. I just if you
I
had
still
it,
have
I was gonna.
Yeah, once I find it, I'll try to bring it up because it's got some absolutely amazing quotes in it.
Valhalla, did you want to read?
Sure. Judge, can we approach? 3:42 p.m. It was overruled, whatever it was, because they picked right back up where they started, discussing requests for analysis, which comes from a detective. They want comparison to fired ammunition from the scene to exemplars from test firing, and if we can find enough similarities between those exemplars and crime scene to say we have a match. Either he's going to say he doesn't call it a match, but he did use the wrong word there. I don't think they can say match.
Yeah.
Can be the casings. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say they call it identification later on.
Can be the casings from the cartridge, the actual bullet, or fragments from the bullet. Got to make that bigger.
I know nothing about firearms or bullets or any of this stuff, so
I can't make it bigger. Do you have this?
I did it.
Okay.
Sorry, were you saying that you were hoping it was from Maryland?
No. Old Line Red in chat had thought it was from Maryland.
It is from Maryland.
Okay.
It's Abercrombie. Right. I found it.
There we go.
And yeah,
it's before Runkle.
It's a code. I just had to find it in my actual, I've got a big thing of cases I've covered. So I was like, I got to find it in here. It's a great case because, they just annihilate some of the assumptions here. And now I got to figure out how to send it to you.
I could just pull it up as long as I have the name. I'm good.
Oh, good stuff. Yeah, and I can.
I'm a lawyer and all.
No, fair enough. Sometimes things are a pain in the butt to search. So
the jury, circuit court, Prince George County convicted, however you say his name, first-degree murder. First-degree murder and the use of a handgun in the commission of a crime. Court sentenced him to life plus 20 years. On the appeal, did the hearing court err in placing a burden pellet? Let's see. Did the hearing court err? They always have these issues. Let's see. By allowing the state's firearm examiner to testify that, in his opinion, bullets found in the decedent's body had been fired from the gun that belonged to the appellate. So that's issue number 2. And we don't. Let's see. Well, as we're reading, I'll go through it and see if I could pull it up. But because I just got to find the issue number. There's like 5 issues in this appeal. If you guys don't know, you file an appeal and you say these are issues for appeal, and the court will address them one by one. Well, this one had 4 or 5 issues, so 4 or 5 parts of the case are not about the one that we're interested in. It's only that one part that we're interested in. So now I got to dig through it. We'll find it.
Yeah.
Valhalla, were you able to pull up the text so you can read it?
I got it.
Okay.
It took me a little while. I got it though. So fragments. When a bullet hits something hard and the bullet is damaged and breaks apart into smaller pieces, will be lead, which is the core, or copper, which is the jacketing material. You can conduct an exam to determine whether or not you can render a conclusion on that item, right? To render a conclusion, you have to actually test fire the firearm. Projectiles and casings that are created at the lab are called knowns. Known cartridge, cases, and known projectiles or exemplars. You compare the knowns to the unknowns from the crime scene to see what level of agreement you get between the two. We fire 2 nickel and 2 brass primers, more consistent if you are comparing nickel to nickel and brass to brass, looking for class characteristics. These are designed in by the firearm manufacturer. We would see the tool marks on the primer and the pin and impression, etc., designed in. If you go deeper into it, you will see the microscopic marks that are unique to each firearm, and that's what we use for our comparisons. Cartridge. The cartridge case, brass part of live ammo. One end is a projectile, and the other end at its base is the primer, which serves as ignition for gunpowder. Pin hits the primer and sets off the bullet. Once ignition source, lead stagnate is hit, it explodes and causes very rapid burning and creates a whole lot of gas. When you compare test fire to test fire, then you should expect to see the same amount of similarities to the unknowns. He calls that an identification.
Now, Ronco, is that consistent? I mean, would you expect to see similarities or identical? Again, that's like the thing. That's an issue here, right? I mean, fingerprints look similar, right?
Yeah, and fingerprints have the same problem. We don't actually know how many people have similar fingerprints. It's just like, well, that's a maybe. But with regards to bullet casings, like a
You're
bullet
muted,
casing
McKinley.
and the manufacturer and so forth, we do know is going to be pretty similar in a lot of ways a lot of the time. If you can narrow it down, and you might be able to narrow it down and say, like, there's a specific shape of the firing pin that might be distinctive to a particular gun. But within guns, that gets to be even more challenging, right? And a lot of things are going to have a firing pin that is just, it looks like a firing pin.
Just a little dot impression, a little circular impression on the primer.
Yeah.
Yep. And then the question is, like, is this, when you look at it through a microscope? Another big problem with all of these things is that they come down fundamentally to a visual examination. Like, the guy is looking at two things, and almost always the expert knows what the answer is. So, like, and you can bias. There's all sorts of ways you can bias, even with just recognition of faces. If you bring in a witness and you put them in front of a lineup and you say, and the lineup has one person, and you say, we're pretty sure that's the guy. Does that look like the guy who robbed you? People will say, yeah, that looked like the guy who robbed me, even though it's a completely different dude. Like, and the worst part is they'll remember the new guy as correct. But, for some reason, they don't think that bias creeps in when they do it with a bullet casing. Of course it does. So,
I put the case, by the way, in my Discord under the Kaitlin Armstrong channel. If you guys want to take a look at it, we'll maybe talk about it a little bit later. But if you want to get a jump start on that case, it's in there. And I can't remember what else I was going to say, but you had said something and I was thinking and then I forgot. But yeah, I mean, I just have a big problem with this just in general. But this particular guy seems weak. I was just, again, reading through the testimony as it was, or the notes anyways. This whole examination just seemed really weak and on shaky ground to begin with. And unfortunately, the jury is bored.
If you've got a guy who doesn't know how firearms are manufactured and thinks they're manufactured with hand tools,
that's a problem.
Then I'm like, why? I mean, maybe I've got a different, like, Canadian standard of prosecutorial ethics, but if I was working as a prosecutor and I put up an expert and defense asked him, hey, are you familiar with how firearms are manufactured? And he's like, well, I think it's hand tools. I'd be like,
later.
We're just going to ask that. I'm just going to interrupt the cross-examination to say, can we just disregard this witness? Like, just in the interest of trial fairness. Well, just in the interest of trial fairness, it's clear that this guy doesn't know what he's talking about and should not be used as an expert by anybody. I mean, like, how would that ever be? Like, that just baffles me as a statement somebody might make, right?
It's pretty insane.
It is really insane. I thought I saw that and I thought it's maybe a typo, and that's why I like having McKinley and Audra here, because when we're going over their notes, we're like, is that what it says, or can you get some clarification? But apparently,
wait, which one?
We're still talking about where he says that hand tools were used to.
Oh yeah, he did. He did.
It's such an astounding statement for a expert to make on the stand. In my opinion.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think, like, of the guns I own, I don't think any of the guns I currently own would have been made with a hand tool. And I own a lot of guns. So
I'm not sure that I've ever seen a hand forged firearm to be well.
What about from, like, are the Civil War ones were they made with hand tools or no?
Some of them were.
I mean,
like some of the
militias.
Getting into, like,
those.
Wow, that's incredible.
I mean, I've seen one, but it was like literally it was literally this, like, cutlery company that decided to experiment with making guns. And, like, they just had the guys who made knives try making some guns for like 4 years. So it was kind of this unique piece. And I'm going, yeah, that's a handmade, item. But If you own a handmade gun now, it's probably really hard to shoot because it might, for instance, well, a lot of them might be like black powder guns, which are, doable, but you end up with things like, is this safe still to fire? Like, is it that old, or is it just like, if you don't have consistent manufacturing, is there a manufacturing defect that might be a problem if you try to shoot this?
Right. All right. I don't remember where we left off.
We left off at state offers him as an expert. Defense. We will rest on the previous objections. Overruled. You are able to determine the caliber and what kind of weapon was used to fire it. You can do that based just off the characteristics called class characteristics.
And I think that this is a determination that I'd be fairly safe in, just the caliber itself, you'd normally be fairly safe in making that determination.
Agreed. Yeah, agreed.
There's like a few that might be confused with each other, but they're not common circumstances.
The other thing with this case is that there's 2 9mm pistols that the man in the middle of the love triangle and the defendant both owned, and they lived together. And so I think they tested both of those guns.
Did you get a brief rundown of the case, Ian?
I'm still looking at all of that one because
so essentially Mo Wilson is the victim. Mo Wilson is an up-and-coming bicycle rider, racer, professional, and she's out of Connecticut. She's been racing around the country, various things. Meanwhile, Colin Strickland and Kaitlin Armstrong are both living in Texas and dating. Kaitlin apparently at some point moves in with Colin because her home is in a renovation or something. And they also operate a business together. It's Colin's business, but she runs all the business part of it. He is also a cyclist and a racer. And so at one point when they were on a break, allegedly in 2021, he meets Mo at a race and they hit it off and start dating. That doesn't last. He goes back with Kaitlin. But apparently this guy has a tendency to continue to talk to all of his exes. Now, Caitlin's one of her positions was, well, all the other exes that he talks to are still alive, so therefore, it can't possibly be me.
The Jodi Arias defense.
Yeah, the Jodi Arias defense.
Look at this big list of people I haven't murdered.
Right.
But it's clear that she's, well, at least from the testimony from her friends and stuff, that she's still kind of jealous of Mo. Colin does a thing where he starts hiding. He doesn't go to races that Mo is competing in because he doesn't really want to hear about it from Kaitlin. They're still living together, but they're not really dating, according to him, at this time, which is June of 2022. And but Mo comes to Austen because there's a race going on. So Mo and Colin go out.
May of 2022.
Sorry. Was it May?
May 11th.
Sorry. Yeah. May 11th. You're right. Oh, that's right. They captured her in June. Yeah. So in May of 2022, there's a race going on. Mo Wilson, the victim, is in Austen. She's staying with a friend of hers, and but she goes out with Colin for an evening where they just basically have dinner and they go swimming, and that's about it. According to all communications and testimony, there wasn't any sort of physical relationship. They were just friends at this point.
Well, there's only one person alive to tell that, but yes.
Well, but even if you look at her messages and stuff, there's been no evidence to suggest otherwise, that they're other than just friends. And that's even according to Kat, who is the victim's friend that was staying with in Austen, that they were just friends. So Colin drops Mo off at her friend's house after the evening and then lies to Kaitlin saying, oh, I just was doing a drug deal, dropping off some weed to a customer. I'm on my way home. Do you want anything to eat? Something along those lines.
Doing a drug deal is a hell of an alibi.
Yeah, that's his alibi.
He was dropping off some weed to a friend is what the alibi said.
Uh-huh. So he texts Kaitlin and says that. Meanwhile, Mo is being shot to death right around that same time and at her friend's house. 2 bullets to the face and 1 to the chest or something like that.
Yeah. And 1 to the finger, apparently.
One to the finger
and hit her in the chest, I think, if I remember.
Yeah, something like that. So she probably had her hand up to block. So Mo's friend comes home, finds her, calls 911, all that stuff. They start searching around for security videos, Ring cameras and things like that. They find a neighbor across the street camera that shows a black, smaller SUV with a bike rack on the back driving by at or about the same time that this would have happened. And so they say, well, that's either the perpetrator or somebody that we should talk to. And they start hunting down for that. But in the meantime, they're also, have their eye on Colin because he's the boyfriend kind of thing. So they go over to Colin's, I think the next day, to talk to him. And they see a black SUV with a bike rack. And that happened to be Kaitlin Armstrong. So then at that point, then the focus kind of turns to Kaitlin, especially after talking to Colin and saying, yeah, she was jealous of her and things like that. And so Kaitlin then 2 days after the murder flies to New York, stays with her sister for a minute, and then flies on her sister's passport to Costa Rica and gets a nose job and a brow lift and dyes her hair and looks nothing like she originally did. In fact, let me see if I can pull it up here. Yeah, so this is her before and after, Runkle. And so she obviously
was way prettier before.
I think she was too.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, that just basically is like she walked in and was like, "Please do some vandalism."
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
She almost looks like she got a chin reduction too, but that could just be because she's smiling.
Her chin does look different, but yeah, maybe it's just she's not smiling.
Yeah, it might be the not smiling, but her nose is definitely narrower. And we didn't know about the brow lift actually until the trial started, because the only thing we had heard testimony of or anything about prior to trial was her nose job.
Well,
did her cosmetic surgeon turn her in on the basis of like, I don't know why anybody would ask for this. This is really suspicious.
No, that was done in Costa Rica, as far as I understand.
In her bag, like when they got her stuff, and then apparently there's no HIPAA.
Do you have a picture of her sister handy?
Oh yeah. So this is her sister and her passports.
She used her sister's passport to go to Costa Rica.
So her sister's on the left, and I think she tried to make herself look more like her sister who's on the left.
Oh, that's got to be. If I'm a plastic surgeon, somebody comes in and is like, "Here's a picture of my sister. That's who I want to look like." It's like, this probably ends in a murder, and I don't know who it's going to be, but I don't want any part of it.
In Costa Rica, they're like, well, show me the money and we'll make it happen. But okay, so here's another odd wrinkle that kind of came out while this case is going on. So the news media is covering this, obviously, right? And they're doing some news things. During one of the news media things, they're standing out in front of this house that this happened at, and there's a garage down below, and there's an upstairs apartment that was being rented by Mo's friend, and that's where she was murdered. But the garage down below and the house in front is owned by the landlord. So while the news media is out there in front of this garage showing the apartment, you see this parked in the garage, which is a smaller black SUV with a bike rack. This belongs to the landlord. What's interesting is that, and the defense brings this out, they never questioned the landlord. I mean, they questioned the landlord. They asked him if he heard anything, and he said no, and that was it. They don't go in. They don't do any more examination of the landlord. So that's a little weird.
I thought that was
their theory.
Car. No?
Whose car?
I always thought that was Cash's. Like Kaitlin Cash, her vehicle?
Is it Cat? No, I thought the landlord had the garage. If I remember his testimony.
Landlord's.
Yeah, the landlord has access to the garage.
But that's just the little thing underneath the stairs, right?
No, this is in the garage. If you watch the whole video, you could see it's clearly inside the garage. It's not that little car park thing.
I bet Ian is the exact description and looks just like the car they have on video leaving the scene of the crime.
Exactly. Yeah.
So there's not a lot of evidence. My point is that there's not a lot of evidence really that she did this, except so far, anyways, except that she went on the run to Costa Rica and had plastic surgery.
And her phone and her vehicle were there based on the data.
Well, we haven't got to that part yet.
I was going to say that's not till tomorrow. Well, today in court.
Yeah. But anyways, it's a highly circumstantial case. But this tool mark stuff is they're trying to say definitively that this was her gun, right? Because this would definitively tie it to her. If it's
between the two, it's hers.
I mean, you could say she's in the area. Well, she lives in the area. You could say it's a black SUV with a bike rack. Well, there's a ton of black SUVs with a bike rack, apparently.
Right.
You know, all these things are circumstantial, but this tool mark like ties her to it. So that's why I don't like this kind of testimony. Hey, Jamie.
Hi, Jamie.
Y'all talking, I stopped a kidnapping last night. Wait, what? While talking murder, I stopped a kidnapping last night.
That a boy, Tim.
All right.
That a boy.
Okay, so we want to keep going with this tool marking stuff, and then we'll go back up to the morning part of the testimony.
I
don't remember where you left off.
You're able to turn the calendar. Oh, I'm reading off the wrong thing over here.
Y'all, I just wrote everything down because I didn't know what he was talking about.
You're good. That's why we got.
No, that's exactly what we want, and that's why I thought of Runkle.
Yes, designed into a firearm. Use 2 firearms with 2 serial numbers, both 9mm pistols. States 100 A, B, and C already opened and entered. Looks at contents and identifies the items. Lab items 7, 8, and 10 each is a 9mm fired cartridge, and appears that each one has a 9mm spent cartridge case inside of it in a separate bag, inside the larger clear plastic bag. He is opening lab item number 7. He pulled a small plastic envelope, and it has another small plastic envelope in it. The smaller envelope has DA markings on it, 9mm Luger fired cartridge case. Approaches the Elmo head stamp, Jag 9mm Luger, brass case with nickel core, has a blue and red marking on the bottom. The silver is the nickel primer and the indentation in the middle of the primer. The hole was created by the strike of the firing pin. But what are these Sharpie marker-looking markings on the bottom in red and blue?
Is that your question?
It was. And they asked him, and he said he didn't know. So.
Really?
Okay. Then.
I wonder if they did it in testing for some reason.
I don't know.
Well, but he would know. He's the one that's doing the testing.
Then later he talks about how he was using Sharpies for like identification purposes, which was real sketch, but it wasn't done the same way. So I have no idea.
This is my concerning part. Like, you're making observations of the jury and they're falling asleep. Her head is almost hanging off or out of the chair.
Super struggle out here to stay awake.
That's just concerning. Like, this is. I mean, if the jury's not paying attention to something, we don't want them to pay attention to this, I guess.
Yeah.
All right.
So states 489, 490, 491, lab items 15, 16, and 60 for the same case. Item 15 is a 9mm moderator projectile with Judge Can We Approach from Kofer. Lab items 15, 16, and 60 are projectiles I was asked to complete under the second comparison. 15 is 9mm fire projectiles with moderate impact damage, 16 9mm fire projectile with heavy impact damage, and 60 is 5 fragments.
So heavy, is there like a definition of heavy impact damage?
Well, he says it's like when he said, I don't know if he gave us a definition for that, but what he meant was like whatever it hit, it caused a lot of damage. So one of them, he was like saying maybe it hit some bones.
Okay.
One of them hit, they think, like a washer dryer unit, and that's why they couldn't tie it back to her gun because it had gotten too deformed or something.
Yeah, if it gets too mangled, it won't be useful.
Yeah, because that metal just bends and contorts, and you're not going to get it back to its original shape.
Yeah, you're not going to get a lot of like tool mark analysis off something that is, annihilated basically.
Yeah,
I shoot solid slugs a lot in tree, especially when I'm deer hunting, and I'm very sad that I'm not up at deer camp because tomorrow's opening day. And then I dig them out, and I like to save them, and like I put them in the casing and sit them on the shelf. But there's usually like a 1/4 inch at least that's left, like intact, while the rest of it's sort of mushroomed and ballooned apart. Obviously, these aren't like self-defense, hollow point, or anything like that. These are just slugs. Is it typical that you can, I guess my question is when we talk about heavy impact damage, are we still having a portion of it? See, these are things that I
mean, sometimes they can be just like, sometimes they can be basically just gravel.
Okay.
Like little tiny shredded bits.
That's what the fragments were. The one that he claims is heavy impact damage was just like really squished
Okay.
and
Mushroomed.
Yeah, mushroomed.
I mean, you say you save them. Try shooting at like some AR-500 steel, and then try to save the things that have bounced off of that. And
good luck finding them.
That's exactly it. It's good luck finding them because it'll be like powder.
Well, I have some 40 calibers that are like hollow point and stuff. I've never found those. I've never been able to salvage those. But all right. So 4:38. I think one juror fell asleep. Oops, she's awake now. Another one is fanning herself vigorously in the face to keep from sleeping. I think that, or she is about to be sick. The other one who was falling out of the side of the chair is leaning in the opposite direction. Smart choice, as she has another human there to catch her if she falls. This is the jury, people. This is the jury.
It was very bad.
I mean, you've never made notes about the jury. I mean, you have, but not this much. It has to be so obvious.
It was so bad. And like all the people that were live tweeting were just like, okay, I can't do this right now. Like everybody just stopped doing notes.
All right. 9, 15, 16.
Outer packaging of projectile evidence. 9mm projectiles. 60 is 5 copper and lead projectile fragments. States something number 9?
I didn't know what number it was.
Okay. 9mm projectile with heavy impact damage. Number 15 is a 9mm projectile with moderate impact damage. 16, 480 something.
Stage 430.
Yeah.
Lab item number 16. It is 1 9mm fired projectile with moderate impact damage. 434 backside of envelope for the projectile fragments. And then we're at lab item 9, 15, 16, and 60.
Yeah, these are like the ones that, for sure. These are the ones that came from her, because this is when it got
these
really...
ones here. You mean lab item 9, 15, 16, and 60? Okay.
Yeah, had to have been.
Okay. 9mm fired projectile with round reddish stain. 15 9mm fired projectile with hair. Difficult for family to look at these close up of the crime scene bullets and to hear about why we have fingerprints or fragments. I'm sorry. Oh, because they're talking about it striking bone.
Right.
Yeah, that would be tough.
Yeah.
The family's in the courtroom at this time?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I heard they skipped out on the autopsy photos. So
yeah, they did.
So item 16 is a 9mm fired projectile with reddish brown stain.
And this is why I often tell family members, I do criminal defense, so I'm not usually dealing with families of the victims, but sometimes in like a self-defense case, you might have a situation where both sides got pretty messed up.
Yeah.
And their family, I had one that was a knife fight, and one guy did better than the other, but they're still looking at medical reports of both. And I'm like, and the guy's family's all like, we want to be there to support you. And I was like, please don't. You will see things in this trial you will never be able to unsee. So just we'll tell him that you're supporting him, but you can't be there for this. And it can be rough.
Her parents, I've never really looked at it as maybe somebody who's like a juror or something, but in this case, I've been noticing her parents' reaction to this evidence coming out, which I never pay attention to because I'm also a criminal defense attorney. And it's odd to see that they're just they can just obviously look at it like it's nothing.
So half Irish, there are 4 bullets or parts of bullets that were fired at the scene. And these are the items we're going through. 9, 15, 16, and 60 are bullet fragments from the scene. The other stuff are the bullets that they fired in the laboratory to make the comparison.
Yeah. And
it really depends. Juror PTSD is a sort of known problem.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one thing when you're looking at a murder file, which is going to be rough if there's pictures of bodies and so forth. sometimes jurors have to sit in on like CP files, and the issue might be, is this picture actually CP? Everyone's got to look at it and decide.
Right.
And,
Yeah. And there's sort of a, kind of a rule that you can use to some extent, especially when it comes to like autopsy photos of children. We talked about this a lot with the Letitia Stout case. Is it more appropriate to show a diagram where the injuries are and have the medical examiner testify than to show the pictures? In that case, they showed the pictures, which I thought probably was a move to elicit an emotional response by the jury. But you got to be careful. You're sort of playing with fire there a little bit.
Well, sometimes the jury may decide that they hate the prosecution for making them look at it.
Yeah.
And I've seen very tactically objections where it's like, you're making a speaking objection. It's improper. You're about to get shut down. But objection, we're prepared to admit the injuries. The jury doesn't need to see this. And it's like, counsel, speaking objection, you can't like do that in front of the jury. When the jury's sitting there going, oh my God, this is the worst thing ever. They're trying, like, you're hoping that they're remembering, hey, defense counsel was ready to just admit this and keep us from having to look at this.
Yeah. And you don't do that. Like, as for defense strategy, right? You want the state to have to work for everything, but you can hold back some things that you'd be willing to admit for strategic purposes, just like that. Audra's in the courtroom too today, by the way. She's like, this went on and on and on. I didn't notice any of them dozing off. Well, that's interesting that you didn't notice them dozing off. That's why I like the two perspectives.
I almost fell asleep watching the Depp trial at points because I was tired. But I mean, when they had the day that was just like, let's play everyone's depositions over and over and over again. I'm
glad I was in the office doing work that day and not sitting on stream.
Right.
Well, I was sitting there fighting to stay awake. And at one point I'm sitting there with my pen in my leg, just kind of like jabbing myself. So it's like, stay awake. Cause I am, because the bailiffs were like, we will kick you out if you fall asleep.
I was so afraid I was going to fall asleep yesterday because I would have been like falling over in the aisle and I would have gotten kicked out. It would have been embarrassing.
When you have your own trial, when you're doing your own trial as an attorney, your adrenaline's going, you're constantly thinking. And when you're done, you're exhausted. But during it, you're alert the entire time. Right. But even as an attorney, when you sit in on a case, I've sat in on a few trials just to like, let me see what's going on or whatever. It can be really boring. And sometimes I feel for the jury. And it's always in the back of my mind, too, when I'm presenting to the jury, if I'm giving opening statements or closing arguments, I always try to keep it short and sweet, keep them interested. I'm moving around all the time. It's just my natural thing. I can't just stand there and talk or just drain on and on and on. It's just, it bothers me. So I feel like it has to bother them.
And there's times when it's just like, you literally have to get this evidence in because you might be vulnerable to, a directed verdict or something if you don't, for instance, like self-defense. If I don't have something to create an air of reality to self-defense, then they won't put it, like they'll tell the jury, you can't consider self-defense. There's nothing to suggest it here. Yeah. So it's like, I might have to bring in some expert evidence on that. And I know the jury's going to be bored. So I'm going to try to like load that in where like, usually you try to like drop that in the middle because you want your beginning to be exciting and your end to be exciting. The middle's where you put all the like necessary boring garbage.
Right.
Right. And this is kind of in the middle. However, I will say that there is a reporter in the courtroom that it has tweeted, thanks to McKinley. We have this tweet. She just shared it with me. That closing arguments in this case, which, by the way, are going to be televised, might be as soon as tomorrow, meaning that the state likely will rest and the defense might not have any witnesses to call. Now, if the defense doesn't have any witnesses to call, that would be concerning for a defense standpoint. What's that?
I said that'd be real crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't imagine they wouldn't call anybody.
Now, we haven't seen day 8's notes yet, but I mean, I can't imagine you would just rest on this.
There's lots of cases where you call no evidence as as the defense, but it sounds like they've got.
This isn't the one.
Yeah, it sounds like they've. There's a place where you do need it. You need something.
There's got to be an expert out there that's as angry about Toolmark as the lawyers on YouTube are. Like, there's got to be somebody out there that would be able to fight against this, especially this guy saying everything's made with hammers and screwdrivers and shit.
You know how many defense lawyers I've seen who have just like said, "Oh, but they have an expert, like they've got a firearms expert," and I'm like, but their firearms expert is actually garbage, right? Like, that this is not something that you should, and they're like, "Oh, but they've got," and I'm like,
I know the jury instructions always tell people, just because it's a police officer, don't give them any more weight than any other witness. Just because it's an expert, don't give them any more weight than any other witness. But the juries do. It's our natural instinct to say, well, this person's an expert. There's a reason why I thought of Runkle immediately when I was reading this, because I don't know the information, and I'm going to defer to his. He could be completely wrong on all of this, but I don't know any difference. And so it's our natural instinct to do that. And so you want somebody on the other side, so you have more of a battle of the expert, a battle of the equals, right? As opposed to just cross-examining by an attorney who doesn't know this stuff.
But there are you can't assume that a lack of witnesses necessarily means anything unless the case requires it.
Right, but this case had so much evidence. Like, it is so overwhelming that it would be insane to not even put up any kind of anything.
I mean, sometimes that's all you got is just to say, like, listen, your defense case is prove it. And I mean, it sucks because sometimes they do prove it, right? But every once in a while when you're running that, they don't. And, that's just how it goes. I mean, and you can't always predict it, because I've had times when, even on very serious charges, an important prosecution witness just no-shows. They're just like, I got better places to be.
Yeah, it could happen. Usually it's sort of the unimportant ones, but I've never had a case where like an expert no-showed.
Oh, I had a case where an expert left court mid-trial. What? Or sorry, not mid-trial, before the trial. He was there in the morning, and then he left. And I'm pretty sure he left because he didn't want me to cross-examine him.
So then you got to tell the jury to strike this person's testimony, and the jury's going to be like, well, but we already heard it.
Well, he didn't actually testify. It was that he was all set to testify, and then he just vanished before the trial. And the prosecutor's like, my expert left, and we don't know where he is, and he's not answering his phone. And I was like, how about that? And the Crown's like, yeah, we're not proceeding.
So they compares these to the ones fired at the lab, test fires. Does this by looking at them under a microscope. There's that human eye sort of subjective.
Yeah. They use what's called a comparison microscope, which is so when you look through it, it'll show you two images from two different microscopes, so that then you can look at both things simultaneously, and you can compare them. Hence why it's called a comparison microscope.
I'll be right back.
So Kaitlin Armstrong's family, father more interested in engaged for this testimony than the mother, who also appears a bit bored. So this is the defendant. Kaitlin looks like she is writing notes to someone. She was for sure. Now she is.
I didn't know that in there. I don't think.
The ER. Who's ER marking the cartridge case?
I think it must have said ER on the bottom or somewhere.
Oh, okay. Compares cartridge casing to cartridge cases, both from the crime scene, to see how much agreement, isn't that what he says, between the marks on the two. So I'm going to look at the same amount of agreement. Says when you see the amount of agreement, then it's probably from the same IRM. See here, they say probably. Did he say probably? Because I have a problem with probably.
Yeah, we're going to convict them on probably.
Uh-huh.
Well, that's what's about to happen in this case, I think.
I think he said probably. I don't know why I would have put probably, but maybe I just.
Well, he can't see. I mean, he can't say it's a match. He can't say
and
that's the exact
says that
firearm.
too. He's
Reading
like,
through these notes, this is the part where I got to like, we should get Waffle on here. But so these are McKinley's.
I'm like, oh, I believe
thoughts.
it. I don't believe it. I believe it.
Yeah, you kept going back and forth. Like, I kind of believe this. No, I don't. Now I'm starting to feel like this is incredible.
I started to get so scared when I realized, like, oh my God, they can convince me in like 2 seconds. And then, yeah, it was nutty.
And you're like, okay, so it does look similar for sure. Okay, now I'm starting to really believe this. Well, how is it possible to trick people like this? It took me no time at all to fall for this.
McKinley's having an existential crisis in the courtroom.
What is happening?
Looking at 7 to 10 cartridges from crime scene, and then looking at the left side, lots of correspondence. Oh,
so we
know these come from the same gun.
2 different ones that were from the crime scene and comparing them. Like, we know those came. I mean, we're assuming from the right. So, like, why are we comparing them? Okay.
So
Silly.
they're comparing the bullets from the crime scene to see if they all came from the same gun or whether or not there were multiple guns used.
Right.
I think what they were doing is they were trying to show us, like, look, we know for certain these 2 came from the crime scene, and this is what it looks like when 2 of them came from the same gun. They're going to look like this. And then I don't think they showed us the test fires, though, which is interesting.
Okay.
Maybe
It says, so they didn't show the test fired rounds side by side with the projectiles found at the scene?
They may have. I would think they would have had to, but I don't remember it.
So now we are comparing 7 and 8 and now 7 and 10. I can tell better with the 7 and 10 comparisons for some reason. Lots of individual agreements from the bottom to the top. Now, is this your notes or is this what the testimony was?
No, that's what I was saying.
Okay. I just want to make sure.
No. I think they were saying that that was them saying, okay, so I said I can tell on this one, but they were the ones saying there's lots of individual agreement from the bottom to the top. Like, he was up there pointing it out.
Okay. All right. So we'll just highlight this because I'm going to put these in Discord afterwards too. And I want to make sure that your thoughts are separated from the testimony. All right. So 427 firearm test fire to the one from, or test fire to the ones from the scene. So this is the firearm and he is going to now try to recreate the results. This is the dumbest thing ever, is your note. So he is just going to try to recreate what he sees at the crime scene. Okay, how is this helpful? Then match the item on the left.
Audra remembers them comparing the...
Yeah, and I see it says the one on the left is from the crime scene and the other one's from the lab.
There you go. Okay, so they did.
Okay, yeah.
And I'm like, oh, wait, this is believable.
And these are matching up perfectly. But I want to see them. Oh, yeah, they are not from. I want to see when they are not from the same gun. That was your note, and that was
yeah. And specifically, let's get one that's from the same make and model.
Exactly.
And ideally the same production run, but like 100 guns off, right? And
Murdaugh, that testimony. Especially when they said, what did they do? They didn't even use the same gun. They used like a different gun, like a different brand of firearm even, right? But it was the same cartridge. I can't remember. Was that Murdaugh for the test firing?
I don't know.
We did test firing in that one. I tuned that stuff out because I didn't understand it. So
I want to say that they used a different gun than the ones that Alec supposedly owned, right? Because they didn't find the firearm that he owned, but they used a different gun entirely.
That's crazy.
Do the test firing with. It's like, well, why would you not on direct or on cross? I remember that. Why would you not get the same gun? Oh, it's the same cartridge and blah blah blah. But you're trying to line up these grooves. Why would you not?
Yeah, that guy was like real squirrely too, though. Right, the guy that did it.
Yeah, he was really squirrely. I didn't like him at all.
Me either.
Bring the jury room.
They'll have pictures. They won't give them the original bullets.
They're on. I think McKinley said they were on the Elmo, right? They were projected on an Elmo.
They put it on the Elmo, but I mean, they like put it all on the table for them so they can like look at it in the bag, I think, later if they have questions about it.
Matthew Newton says, I just want to say that I am glad you are questioning the science of ballistics. Your critical thinking skills are actually pretty rare. Most people don't even think to ask these questions. Well, that's what we are here for. And I don't know the right questions to ask, so that's why I asked Runkle to join us, and I'm glad he could.
Exactly.
Oh, I'm happy to, because this is one of those topics that just makes me rage.
Yeah. Lab item number 7 and test fire. What is the test fire number matchup? Looking inside the firing pin and seeing from the course lineup match. What is that?
Yeah, I don't know. He said like these lines are. He was calling them like course lines or something. Like from their course.
Oh,
there's a difference.
So
between
course as opposed to fine lines, and yeah.
Okay.
The course line is all it means is it's a thicker tool marking. It's a thicker engraving into the metal.
And typically you'll get like a thicker line from like the rifling will create a thick line. Whereas you might get different lines from like grit and other stuff in the barrel and all sorts of things.
So they testify that they actually test fired a Springfield also because the detective wanted that gun eliminated, and it was eliminated. Huh?
It was Colin's gun. So them talking about but he was like, he just straight up said it, like, the detective told me that he wanted this eliminated, so we eliminated it.
And the thing is that it's actually
confirmation.
It's better at actually doing eliminations on this stuff.
It's much more obvious to find the wrong than the right.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm just trying to think of a good example here.
Let's say that. Oh, go ahead.
Let's say you were trying to determine that like two chemicals were the same thing, right? And you've got one that's like a red paste, and then the other one is like, and then you've got a different red paste. Well, that doesn't actually get you to them being the same chemical because there's lots of red pastes. But if somebody brings something that's a blue paste, you can be like, it's not the same thing, right? That is, or a blue liquid or powder or whatever else. You can say that's clearly, and so it can be really easy to say we can eliminate this, but the question of like these two things are the same requires a lot more analysis, if you're trying to say that we can exclude anything else.
Well, what I was saying is, the exclusion approach, in my opinion, is probably the best that it's ever going to get, but you can do that almost exclusively from comparing the caliber and say, well, this is a 9mm. It's consistent with the 9mm owned by the defendant. And that's about it. Because if you go any closer than that, I feel like you're again, even if you're doing it to exclude, aren't you just still lining things up under a microscope and making a personal observation?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, if they can get the science to where they can like provide a proper match, great. But I don't think it's there. And I don't think that that's why I want to get this actual test set built. And then I can say like, hey, listen, we got 10 grand on the line. And, anybody who wants to say that they can do it, great, come prove it. And specifically, we could also at that point start going up and challenging specific experts and being like, hey, there's 10 grand on the line if you want to prove your skills at this. And when they say, I'm declining, like I'm out, it's like, cool. Our solution to that is to tell everybody.
Right.
Like we will post a list of which specific firearms experts have refused to do this, and we'll provide that for cross-examination.
Speaking of experts, good evening, Mr. Gosney. How we doing, brother?
Hey, good to see you all. How are you guys doing?
Well, we're
not too bad. Not too bad. We're talking the critical analysis of tool mark experts in a ballistic examination.
I was online with somebody else and I haven't been following, but I'm so happy. Oh, and Runkle's here, man. This is awesome. I have I don't know what you're talking about. I'm jumping. I haven't seen anything, but I have this one idea, and I'm so glad Ian's here because I wanted to share it with him.
Derailed.
Yes. No, this has to do with tool mark and firearm examination, right? Which we both have a common cause on. And I was on a debate on Twitter, going back and forth with somebody who is a tool mark firearms examiner and who was defending it. I think it was Branca and him were going back and forth and shooting flames, and I'm trying to find the happy medium, right? And hey, Haley. So, but one of the Daubert criteria is that the methodology is open and an open book, right? So I was saying, okay, where is, like, let's assume that there's a claim that you can match a particular bullet to a particular firearm, right? So if you have a 22 caliber fired projectile, that you can say that 100% matches this particular firearm, all right? Let's assume that that is true. Then that means, let's assume that you could have a projectile, that there ought to be a book, some sort of body of research that says when it's fired out of a 22 Ruger, say, it will have these particular characteristics, right? Is there such a body of knowledge? Because if you could take that projectile and say, okay, this projectile was fired out of a 22 Ruger short barrel, then there's characteristic striations that come from that particular gun. But see, I don't think any such document exists. I think instead, in order to do the match, they have to have both the projectile and a firearm that they can match it to.
Well, that's because, if I may, that's because the tool marking for the gun is supposed to be individual. So you couldn't have like a 22 Ruger that would create the exact same marks in theory, according to.
But that doesn't make sense, does it?
Well, the other thing is that there are situations where they've put tool mark examiners to the test and tricked them. So one of the examples is they said, oh, we fired these two bullets out of the same gun. We want you to do an examination as to whether they match. And the thing is they did the test and they matched. And it's like, okay, cool. We did actually shoot them out of the same gun, but we replaced the barrel between the two things. And the barrels don't even have the same twist. And twist is like how fast the rifling kind of rotates. And so it's like, these things should not match to each other. So but you just said that they matched.
For those that don't know, all guns except for shotguns, like pistols and rifles, they have something called rifling inside the barrel. And it's literal grooves in the cylindrical barrel that create a twist on the projectile as it's going down the barrel and out, which keeps it going straight, or at least on the target it's supposed to.
If you think about like a football, the way you want to put spin on a football so that it stays stable, that's what rifling is for. Is it imparts that spin that keeps it stable. But the rifling itself actually, like indents it. It creates those grooves, those striations.
If it's true that you can do such matching, it seems like the more general conclusion could be made without the presence of the firearm. So I have a projectile. You should be able to determine something from that projectile other than it's a 22. You should be able to say, okay, this comes from a Ruger 22 or a Savage 22 or a, right? I mean, something, if you can't make that rough generalization. Just like,
tell me what the twist is. Tell me what the, anything about it. Like, and sometimes they can make some determinations. Like I've seen some where they've said, this was fired out of a very dirty gun. And, that's because of certain patterns that you can observe. But it's like, which dirty gun is the question? And I mean, in some cases, it's actually been, in some cases, this gun is so like poorly maintained that it's going to be impossible to create a match, which is especially fun.
I didn't even think about that. If you've got a lot of carbon buildup on your firing pin, for example, it would create a different mark than if it was perfectly clean.
I saw one where there was so much buildup in the thing that I think it was actually the Baldwin case where they noted there was so much buildup that it was compressing the bullet, and they couldn't get clean, clean striations off it.
I didn't review my research before coming on, but there's a tool mark concept that if you have a particular, like a shoe print, for example, you can say, okay, this is an Air Jordan and it's a size 5. Okay, fair enough. But you can't say this is the particular shoe to this, but you can't do that unless there's something
unique,
wear or mark wear or something on the tread that's unique to the. Okay, the guy there's a nail in the bottom and there's a nail in the. Then it becomes particularized, and that sounds like what you're referring to in the firearms position.
How rude!
Yeah, we need to do this.
Yeah, I don't know. This is a new person.
Stephen Gosney. This is our new friend McKinley. I can't pronounce her last name.
That's fine.
She is a defense lawyer in Austen, Texas, and has been sitting in the courtroom for the Kaitlin Armstrong case. She's been gracious enough, along with Audra and Chat, to provide us with notes, and she's been on now the second time with us to go over this trial. This is the great Steve Gosney. He's an appellate defense lawyer out of Florida and is quite possibly one of the most brilliant men that's on the tubes.
I feel like a groupie because I definitely have watched all of y'all before on YouTube. So
maybe don't use the word groupie next time. Maybe go with fangirl or something.
Well, here's my child. Hold on.
So McKinley and Audra, Steve, have been in the courtroom. You know Audra from the chat. She has. I don't know if you know Audra from the chat, but she has. This is Audra right here. And she's in Texas, and she's been sitting in court. And she said that she would happily take notes for us and sit in court all day long. When this case eventually, when the judge decided that there weren't going to be any television cameras for most of the trial. And then as we've been going along, McKinley jumped into our chat and said, "Oh, I'm actually a criminal defense attorney sitting in the courtroom taking notes as well." So for the last week or so, we've been trying to stream updates based off of both Audra's and McKinley's notes. Audra wasn't in court yesterday, but McKinley was, and these are her notes. Wow, and as I was reading through them, they were getting into ballistic tool mark testimony and things like that. And I immediately thought of you and Runkle to see if you guys wanted to chime in, weigh in a little bit.
Area. I know Runkle's really, I love, I can't believe we're such fellow nerds on this issue.
And this is a big thing, though. People are trying to use this like it's a forensic science, when in actuality, it's likely very likely not that solid of a science.
There's limits. The problem is that people that think they can do it think it solves all the world's problems, right? You can say this is a 22 caliber firearm, that this is an operable firearm, that this bullet is consistent with being fired out of this particular firearm. That's all good. But to say it's a match, that's the bridge too far. That's going too far. And the thing is that you know, Runkle, that and also MLS,
if I was a judge, I would probably restrict to the language of consistent and say consistent. Unless there's some solid explanation, I don't want that language in my court. What I want is not excluded. That's the language I would permit. And just because that's usually what, and just to give you a really ridiculous example, I am drinking leftover champagne. That is consistent with Trump being the rightful president, because it's also consistent with Biden being the rightful president, and also consistent with Mickey Mouse being the rightful president, because none of those things would prevent me from drinking champagne. And so when we say consistent with, it's this statement that sounds like match, but really all it means is not excluded. And, so that's this is a red liquid that's consistent with it being blood, but that doesn't mean that it's actually blood. We got to do some more testing. And if that's all you did was just look at it, you got to do more testing to know if that's actually what we're looking at.
Well, and there's a limit to how much the examination can provide. And I think that there's a lot of confirmation bias that goes into these examiners. They're trained to do this, and they're trained that 13 striations that line up, examine it. Then the book says that means it's a match. And therefore, it's all over the place. We see this. In fact, I've got a case right now. Our office is pursuing a case, and we're hiring Tubin and to come in and advise us on the case. We've retained.
Who did you say?
Tubin and Blau. Do you know Tubin and Blau?
Not the reporter Tubin that got caught on.
Well, I was nerding out on the South Carolina lawyer that accused of killing the my wife in the Murdoch case.
Murdoch.
He was an expert. He was going to testify in that case, but they left him out. They hired him. He's the preeminent expert on firearms examination. He wrote the key article of Tobin and Blau, B-L-A-U. You look up Tobin. It's T-O-B-I-N, Tobin and Blau.
Not the guy I thought you were talking.
Anyway,
not the guy who was tubing on the on cam.
I don't know what it is. Anyway, why am I nerding out? Go ahead.
No, I just wanted so this highlighted section here. So this is apparently I double and triple checked and asked if this is what he actually testified to. This is the expert when he first gets on the stand. He's talking about all of his training. It says we are just talking about this is her notes that we're talking about all the training and stuff. So when asked about tool marks, he says typically firearms are made with hand tools.
What?
That's just a fallacy. There's no truth to that whatsoever.
I'm just trying to reiterate this.
Yeah, what is this, 1776?
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
I just wanted to point that out.
I mean, that might be true if Blackbeard is chasing you, but beyond that, you're...
Okay, so now... where are we?
I have no
I'm
idea.
just going to say, even the guns you'd see on, like, Pirates of the Caribbean, the film set, would not be handmade.
Yeah.
So, like, even modern reproductions are not going to be handmade.
Oh, yeah.
I have to make a correction that Audra was there all day yesterday. I apologize, Audra. It was the other day. It was the day prior that you weren't there. Or it was, I don't know, one day you weren't there. And I mistaken because we're doing this like a day after, right? So we're talking about day 7, which was actually on Monday. Today was day 8, but we're not talking about it. So I'm getting confused in my mind. That is all.
I'm putting in the private chat a couple documents that are the essential documents on this issue.
And actually, did you rate these? We've been kind of hinting about it, but Ian, you actually have this challenge out there to the world, right? This is actually a challenge that you've announced and are accepting.
I'm working. I'm not ready to accept because I'm working on. I got to determine first of all how hard I want it to be, and what that means is I got to make sure that it's outside of the bounds of chance. So think of something like the Randy Prize, where he was like, "I will pay $1 million to anybody who can prove that they have some actual paranormal ability," and he wanted to make sure that it was not something that you could do by accident, by chance. And so that's actually harder than it sounds, because if you're going to run 1,000 of these tests, you want to make sure that there's not somebody who's like, oh, I'm just lucky enough to be like the 1 in 1,000 chance. You want it to be something where it has to actually be proven. But the other thing that's going to be a difficult thing is getting all of the fired projectiles together, getting the casings together, and being like, let's actually test this, because
will you have my $500 pledge towards the prize money?
One Glock.
Well, that's the thing is we'll put up like, hey, here's the prize, and we can have it like the Randy Prize, where it was an escalating amount as people contribute, and just like take it to these experts and be like, hey, you've testified in 12 trials. You've been nominated by the defense bar as like, why don't you take this test? And when they're like, oh, we won't do it, it's like, cool, we're going to tell everyone you didn't do it, and we will swear affidavits that you were unwilling to do it. We will, we'll be available for cross-examination, for whatever else. I mean, some of this you might even be able to do live in trial. Like the guys in trial, it's like, cool. If we get enough like sort of funds together for it, we could bring in a comparison microscope and just be like, all right, midway through trial, let's do it.
If I'm not didn't Bronco pledge a pretty significant amount of money towards this as well?
Yeah, and I mean, that's the thing is, if we can get it going and gets the ball rolling on it, I think that we could actually get to a point where there's like what would be ideal is the kind of money on the line where it becomes a difficult problem on cross-examination for the expert to say that he wouldn't want the money.
Right.
You know, because if you can get it to like enough defense lawyers pledging this, that you've got like 50 grand on the line, you know, the guy's like, well, I just didn't want to be involved. It's like, you didn't want $50,000?
Yeah, right.
Really? Like,
yeah, if you get it to enough money, there's almost an amount of money, I believe, that they can't say no to, or it's gonna be very hard for them to say no to and save face.
It's going to be embarrassing. It's going to be like cross-examinable as to like why they didn't, because it's like,
yeah,
you're saying you didn't actually care about the money, or is it just that you knew, like, to a virtual certainty that you would not pass this test? So,
but and there's the back end. There's a lot of dimensions. It is I've put some thought into it too, and I know that Ian has thought about it more than I have, and he also has I don't know, you and Branka, I definitely would defer to as far as leaders on that issue, because I've thought about it myself, and it's the more you think about it, the more complex it becomes. And you know, just the double blind testing and the accounting, and what is the test, and how many nulls, and how do you perform? It's very it's not an easy.
And it's also got to be something that because let's say you get one of these experts and they fail it, right? Mm-hmm. Well, now we've generated something that we might use to bust that expert on cross-examination. You know, we could present this to defense counsel to say, hey, this guy's your expert. He's not that good of an expert. The problem is that you actually want to be able to, you need a court to look at it and say, this is a fair test.
And the other thing is, it's also pure cross-examination, because one of the things you got to be careful about from a defense side is that the burden of proof for proving this up really should be on the state to show that it is good science. And creating a tool where it's like, well, it's accepted and we're debunking it. We don't want to concede the ground that this is good science to begin with. So I think that once you, because I would accept that you can say it's a 22 caliber bullet and that it was fired from a revolver and that it was this, and this firearm is capable. I would concede all of those things, but then getting to that last level where they want to push it beyond where it should, well, the state's got to show that what they're saying is science. And under the Daubert criteria, which is the admission of expert testimony 5-point test, it fails on a number of those levels. There's no public documents that I can examine. Like if I wanted to go and explore the science behind this and what they're being told, there is no standards. There aren't any. It's just they all sit around in a circle and say, well, we've all agreed that 13 matching striations is equal a match, and therefore that's what we agreed to. And there's no outside input or testing or anything. So
it seems arbitrary.
It
13 is. Or whatever number they come up with. It seems all of it's arbitrary.
It is.
So I think they start getting into the cross a little bit here of this guy. And if I remember correctly, I was trying to read through these notes beforehand. So he finished his report on day 16. The report was written on the 17th because it was transferred to a second examiner before we can write any reports. Another analyst had to do the entire comparison over and had to sign saying that he came up with the same agreement and send it back to me after they signed it. So this is like in-house verification, which I never trust.
Yeah, that's the whole problem.
Yeah. This examiner is the verification examiner. It's possible.
Well, and let's look at what the verification exam is. It's your buddy determined that these two things match. Do you agree?
Yeah.
What are you going to say? Right? Like, yeah, it's ridiculous.
Same process follows from the fired projectiles and the ones at the scene. They were fired on May 16th. The report issued on the 17th. And his conclusion, so one day, and his conclusion was that 2 of the projectiles were fired from lab item 24, the 6-hour pistol, her pistol, and the other full projectile, which only showed 1 land impression. I don't know what that is. Anyone?
So lands and grooves is from rifling. The grooves is the deeper parts. The lands is the so it's basically just showing the rifling pattern in it.
Okay, and so there were 4 bullets that were fired into this woman. 2 of the bullets, they say, matched the defendant's Sig Sauer. 1 was inconclusive, and the other one was too fragmented to do any sort of comparison with. The projectile that was inconclusive, lab item number 9, was found under evidence tent number 3 at the scene, found under the washer and dryer unit. Okay. There was one. The bullets in the casings and stuff were kind of weird way the testimony was in this case, where they're exactly located. But remember, at the time, the police showed up and the fire department showed up and EMS showed up. They were actually trying to save this woman's life. So things were getting kicked around and everything. He says that inconclusive, and
like police will describe the EMS as the evidence destruction team or various similar terms.
Yeah,
because EMS will come in. They don't care that it's a crime scene. Like they could not give fewer F's about that. They'll stomp around. They'll throw packages, like loose packaging around. They'll all sorts of things. So, they will absolutely wreck things.
So when asked on direct about inconclusive in the instance, in this particular instance, means not saying that this is the only tool capable of creating these marks, but saying there is more agreement than he has ever seen on 2 items fired from different guns. I don't know exactly what that means, but is he doing and she had to step out for a minute. But is he doing like a comparison saying, well, these other 2 matched more closely than the one? So I don't know. That doesn't make any sense to me. Is that what they do? Is like a process of elimination? Like these 2, this one is closer than that one. So we're going to assume this one was fired from the gun. And the other one's inconclusive.
That would be a bad practice. So,
okay.
I can't say that isn't what they're doing because,
well, he's talking about it being built by hand too, right? So
yeah.
All right. So then we get into cross-examination. Let's see. What you do is subjective, correct? And the guy agrees. Not all ammo. So okay. So first of all,
look at the cross. It sounds to me like the defense attorney knows what they're talking about here.
And the thing is it's actually funny how often they won't agree to that. Because they'll often say, no, it's not. This is objective. And it's like, It isn't, though.
Right out the gate, this is a subjective test. And he said he agrees. Okay, so we're done.
That was an excellent question. Well done.
Yes, this defense attorney, he's over to target here. This guy's obviously done some background research. I'm happy about this. Doing appeals, you often don't get this. Often the defense attorneys are not aware that there's problems with this. And
man.
Well, yeah.
I'm a big believer that to do great trial work, you should do some appeals. Because the one thing you notice when you're doing appeals is all the questions you wish had been asked just to establish the evidentiary foundation. Because I've had questions. I had a lawyer at one point. He referred me an appeal. And he's like, this is a great appeal. And I ended up sending back to him. I'm like, here's why the appeal is going to lose. And it's because you didn't ask this question of any witness. And he sent back and he's like, well, it's not such a big deal. I'm like, it is though, because I can't quote that in the transcript.
Right.
And
I didn't know you did appeals. Ian, you're getting cooler by the minute.
I won at the Supreme Court of Canada, which is appellate work.
Wow.
One of those.
Salute.
Nice.
So yeah.
Congratulations. No, yes, you're absolutely. Appeals are like a million ways to lose. And if you are not aware of that, and the thing is a lot of trial lawyers the thing they don't understand is that when it matters, it matters. And so you really, when you've got an appellate issue, you preserve the hell out of it, right? A lot of these little petty ticky-tacky objections are meaningless, right? But when you've got something like this that is contested, that's like, it's something is going to be an issue on appeal, you need to really dot your I's and cross your T's, because you want to box that up for the appellate attorney so that if your client gets convicted, it goes off to appeals and it's nice and preserved for future conduct. If it's just like, sometimes these little evidentiary ticky-tacky objections are don't affect the course of the trial, and that's understandable. But this is an issue that you should be zeroed in on and saying, I'm going to preserve this and we're going to make this as good as we can. That's what we're doing right now on the trial case that I've got. We're zeroed in on this issue, and it's going to be packaged for the appellate courts so that we can bring in that South Carolina. I think it's South Carolina had that really good decision recently. Natalie,
Maryland.
the lawyer chick's up there. Baltimore. Remember, it was Maryland.
Maryland. We were just talking about it earlier.
Yeah, that's a really good decision, and we want to bring that into Florida.
And
It
the other
needs to
thing
be brought
is
in everywhere.
Yes.
trial lawyers never ever concede your good appellate issue.
Right.
Because I've been in this situation. You've got a judge who doesn't like your issue and is just like, well, counsel, you'd agree that this objection is wrong. And it's like, I will give any amount of money for that lawyer to just be an ass the whole way through and tell no, we maintain our objection.
Right.
Every single, and I had a trial where literally I had to say, I object to this. And the judge was like, Mr. Runkle, I know, please stop. And I was like, no. At the appeals, the Crown tried to say that in one instance I'd missed an objection and that they were arguing that I'd waived the issue because I'd only argued 27 times and not 28.
Right.
And thankfully, because there was just so many objections, the appeals court was like, nope, he's pretty clear on that issue. Thanks. He never conceded it.
My bad.
But you concede it once and you're done.
You are singing my song. I love it. Exactly right. Exactly right. Perfect.
We so I was just messing with the chat. Valhalla and I both have controls over the pulling up the chat, so we battle back and forth.
We always try to pull up the same ones, and it gets silly.
All right. So do you want to start reading the cross?
Sure.
All right. Cool.
As soon as I figure out where you're at.
This is
Got it.
Okay.
Cross-examination by Jeffrey Poirier, whatever you say. What you do is subjective. Agreed. Not all Ammo Inc. ammo has JAG head stamp. Agreed. In every case where we render an opinion, it is subjective opinion. Hey, wait a second. Aren't all opinions somewhat subjective? Otherwise, we might call it a fact. Hey, good point.
Well, it would be objective, not subjective. Objective.
There you go. And
well, no, I guess.
no, that'd be a fact.
Well, I mean, you can have objective, like opinion evidence can be things like DNA testing. And there you can have like objectively, these are the chromosomes or whatever else. Whereas it's really different than like, I looked at two things in a microscope.
By the way, the stuff, Steve, just so you know, the stuff in the pink or red is McKinley's like her thoughts to herself. That's not actually the testimony.
And she's taking great notes, by the by.
Yeah, no, these are good. And the other ones that Audra took down too are amazing as well. We have some of the best people in court doing this.
It's pretty amazing, actually.
Yeah. All right.
Discussing matched versus sufficient agreement. Sounded like a bunch of hogwash junk science to me. He says that he does not use the term matched. Mind you, he used it in the beginning of his testimony today. He did. Jeffrey Poirier, I can't remember how to say it, asks if matched is an overreach, and he says, no, it just does not sound right. It is an overreach. GP, do you remember having a 702 hearing on blank date? Austen, was that the 702? Yeah. Defense, do you remember using the word matched? Austen, no, I would prefer to use sufficient agreement. Gives super crazy definition from their book that tells us what this hogwash is saying. It says when lines are corresponded, it's called identification. Defense is trying to ask how much correspondence exists between two items not from the same firearm. State objects and he's forced to rephrase, loves footing a little, and starts talking about an article. Loses footing a little. Okay.
That's a good question too. GP is how much correspondence exists between two items not of the same firearm? That's a really good question. I like that one.
Well,
because they should be able to say that, right?
But there's not an answer.
There is, but that shows you
that's the problem. There should be an answer to that.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. Actually, this is the first time that I've been kind of impressed with him. GP.
Yeah,
he's
been a little
me at all.
Yeah, not much.
Eventually gets Austen to agree that there can be a considerable amount of correspondence in those lines when items are shot from two different firearms. Answers absolutely. Article says as much as 51% correspondence between two different firearm items. Austen, I haven't read this, and it sounds like more agreement than I have ever heard of from two different guns, but it is possible.
So he's admitting that it's possible that 51% correspondence from two different firearms. So he could match those up, essentially.
Admits he does not ever compare items he knows to be from 2 different guns. So WTF. Except apparently when he is excluding a firearm per detective request. Okay.
Oh yeah, that's a side note because he specifically excluded the firearm that was owned by the boyfriend, Colin.
But I have a lot less problem with exclusion, because I think that, example, if you've got a 38 caliber bullet, it wasn't fired by a 22. So you can scientifically, factually exclude that firearm.
Yes, except that when he was asked about it earlier in the testimony, he just said that he excluded it. He was asked to exclude it, and that was on direct, but offered, it didn't sound like, at least according to the notes, no testimony to back it up as to what testing he did to exclude it. So I would still have a problem with that.
Can I have a technical question? Why is it that I'm looking, Matthew Newton is in the comments on StreamYard, but I don't see his comment on live chat?
He's in my chat.
Yes, we're dual streaming.
And for those that don't know, MLS and I are dual streaming this. If you're in one chat, the other is posted at the top of chat, the other link, and go over, give us both a like and a subscribe if you like what you're seeing.
I'll do that right now, man.
Appreciate sorry, we forgot to announce that more often. So Fiery Red Podcast, member for 5 months, says, hello all, hope all is well. And I believe that is in my chat.
Fiery
Yes,
Red.
it is. Thank you for being a member for 5 months. The thing is, so also like Valhalla and I have dual controls over this, but now it doesn't differentiate between if it's his chat or mine. So now I got to look manually.
Takes a little more observation skill.
Yeah, we got to focus. All right.
For some reason, ask this dude again about his proficiency exams and gets the same answer 3 times in a row that he has gotten. Perfect score on proficiency exams for 10 years. Bad question.
No, this is not a bad question. This is a good question, because the question is the larger question. This actually should come in a Daubert hearing, or if I'm not sure if this is a Daubert state, but because the question is, everybody always passes with 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know what a 702 is. If a 702 is like a Daubert type hearing,
probably.
Yeah, that's what I would imagine it is.
Go back up. Let me see it real quick. So.
Do you remember having a 702 hearing on such and such date? Do you remember using the word match?
So that was probably an exclusion, a hearing where it was like a Daubert hearing. They were trying to narrow and exclude the evidence from coming in.
For those non-lawyers in the panel, what's the Daubert hearing exactly again? Briefly.
So a Daubert hearing, if anyone presents an expert, you can challenge the experts, essentially their qualifications, their foundation, or anything really associated with the expertise testimony that's being offered in a Daubert hearing. It's done ahead of time, and the court will then make a determination as to whether or not the expert can actually be called as an expert and testify. There might be limits given depending on the nature of the testimony. I had one where it was regarding the psychological development of a child, and the child at the time was like between 15 months and 2 years old. And the expert that I had called was someone who dealt with like 3 and 4 year olds. And so the court actually said, well, you can't, because the experience of this particular doctor that you're presenting it tends towards 3 and 4 year olds and older, not 1.5 and 2 year olds. So therefore, we're not going to qualify this person as an expert and allow them to testify. That's kind of the idea behind it.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Sure.
I appreciate it. Admits sufficient agreement standard can vary from examiner to examiner and even varies within his own cases from one case to the next.
Doesn't sound very scientific.
Yeah.
Does not calculate error rate.
Okay, here's another. This cross is very well educated, because this is another excellent question because if there is no known rate of error, then it's not science. For example, in a DNA exclusion, you know the known rates of error, right? Those what's what. But if there is no known rate of error, how can you say it's certain? They don't know what they're getting wrong, right?
And that goes back to testing it deliberately against, like Runkle was saying, so that you get the error rate. You can establish the error rate that way by testing 100 bullets fired from 50 different guns and trying to match them all up. Then at least you have some nice round numbers and you can get at least some sort of statistical error rate out of this.
Shouldn't that decision in Maryland to kick the tool mark science out, shouldn't that start some kind of a precedent though? Like
I would love to see it. I don't know that we're going to see it. What I suspect is you'll see a lot more courts falling over themselves to say, no, we got to save this evidence somehow.
But we're not looking to exclude so much. You know, what I was going to say earlier,
2020 case
is that you know, the evidence that it's consistent with, and I know Ian has a little different, maybe more limited, but even that type of testimony is powerful. It's powerful. The guy had a gun on him. It is a 9mm, and it's missing. It's got missing. You know, it has 17 round capacity, and 2 of the bullets were fired out of it. Right? I mean, those are compelling things. This to make the final matching leap is not necessary to obtain convictions. What all you're doing is you're increasing the odds of getting a false conviction.
Well, and if it is if it is what you're depending on to get a conviction, that's not a conviction that should have been gotten.
Right, exactly.
And I just tell people, like, imagine you were on trial and you happen to own a gun, and they, you know, at trial they're saying, let's say they do very limited testing. Like, let's say that their testing is limited specifically to, they only check the caliber. And they say, this 9mm firearm is consistent with the murder weapon. How do you feel about that when you know that your gun was sitting in a safe, right? Would you feel that you were getting, like, that you were being fairly treated in this trial? Or would you feel that this was an unfair
like the
circumstance?
State's railroading you and you're going to prison for the rest of your life for something you didn't do?
Yep.
But we don't care about your feelings.
Free Zachariah Anderson, get wrecked gravely.
Yes, exactly. All right. Where are we? Asked about
Spittler and the PC, where he said that Austen developed an investigative lead. Says he never saw the PC. Later, he will admit to Spittler being inaccurate in the PC when he wrote this. Asked about the wording on FTE website regarding practical impossibility. Austen won't answer and is talking about how this is going to be changed very soon because they don't agree with it. They don't want to say that they are ruling out all other tools. What's PC?
probable cause. That's the only thing I could think of.
That's what I was thinking. I'm not.
Yeah.
So there might have been a probable cause
sense.
hearing of some sort, and that this very issue might have been addressed then too. So I don't know, though. I'm just assuming.
That's it was probable cause in her shorthand before, so that makes perfect sense.
Lots of talking over. If you guys watch the opening statement, you know how the prosecution likes to talk over the defense when they're asking questions and cut them off. So lots of talking over, then angry objections from the state, but basically witness was non-responsive, and GP, that's the defense counsel, trying to get him to be responsive, but didn't object, and this made Gigi real mad. Who's Gigi? Is that the prosecutor? See, the McKinley knows these people. She works with them in the court all the time, so she has these shorthands. But I think Gigi is the prosecutor. But GP rather, the defense counsel finally gets him to say yes. That's what the website says, but then says again that it is going to be changed. So they're arguing over what the website says, and apparently it's going to be changed. And so that's essentially the end of day 7. And day 8 is today, Tuesday, which we're not going to cover. But apparently we pick up more on this tool marking stuff on day 8 in the morning. So that's the end of the tool marking stuff, guys, Ian and Steve. We started kind of at the end of this. We still have to go over the morning's testimony as well, but this was the afternoon. And since you guys were kind enough to come on, I wanted to skip right to this.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm excited to see what the morning on day 8 says. I do have all of Audra's notes. They are flooding my Discord and my emails, so I will happily put those together, and I'm looking forward to reading those.
Heck
and
yeah.
we'll do those tomorrow as well.
And this is in Texas, right? I'm very happy to see. Very happy to see. It looks like the defense is on top of it, not only challenging it in an expert pretrial hearing, but also asking good questions at the cross for appellate purposes, right? You know, we like to see these things well preserved because we want to have the Maryland ruling duplicated throughout the United States, and you need to have good cases to bring it up to appeals to bring in such rulings, right?
Yeah, exactly. Audra's willing to send you guys her notes. If you're fine with me sending them the ones I have, she always wants to make them better.
I'm on vacation starting tomorrow.
Ooh.
Yeah, you are.
Are you doing a staycation or are you leaving?
No, I'm going to go visit Valhalla.
Yeah, we're working out a lunch date. We got it figured out.
I go up. I have a friend in West Virginia, so my cousins or my son's cousin is going to house sit, and he's going to. So my house is going to be taken over by rowdy teenagers while I go off to party up in the woods of West Virginia, which is like no power. The Greenbrier River flows. They have an 80-acre parcel in the Greenbrier where we just go and camp out in a log cabin and play board games, Bronco.
Wait, where are you going? Where is this?
my friend Mariah is up in West Virginia, and it's a Thanksgiving. It's a very close. One of my close friends I went to law school with, who is a spectacular board gamer. I will tell you, I think she won the national board gamer for #1 in Catan one year, and she'd never even
Settlers of Catan.
Yeah, and she never even played it before. She just showed up at board gaming and just started playing, and then she goes to board gaming conventions and then wins, and then goes to national conventions because that's the thing, and then win. She's just an amazing board gamer, one of the smartest attorneys I've ever been around, and I'm proud to call her my friend. And she has a cabin up in the woods in West Virginia, and Ian and I we're talking on the side because he's a big board gamer kind of guy, right?
Yeah,
and
I like that. That's my
she gave her, didn't she? I think I sent you some tips that she sent about board game testing and stuff.
Yeah, and a lot of that was stuff I was planning, but it is good stuff, and I got to get on the testing on that because I've got a board game design that I've been working on. So,
I want to hear about this.
It's so cool.
What's the board game?
Yeah, I want to hear about this.
So the provisional title is Soviet Murder Mystery. And it's kind of reverse Clue. So in Clue, you start out with nothing other than there's been a murder, and you're trying to figure out first who did it. Whereas in this one, you start out and everything about the murder is public information at the beginning. And then you're going to try to mess with that information as much as you can in order to ideally point the finger at your chosen target. So the subtag to that one is in Soviet Russia, murder solves you.
That's awesome.
I love it. It's great. It's a great concept.
I like that.
For $10, Debbie W. So happy to see Ian. Great stream last night, Ian. Well deserved. Have you given any more thought to a watch of the Zachariah Anderson trial?
I might have to because I'm behind the 8 ball on that one. But from what everyone tells me, it sounds like it was a real miscarriage.
It was horrific.
I'll say this. I'm going to do a rewatch of it on the 1-year anniversary in March. And Veilhammer Media, who's been great helping us out remastering some audio and stuff, he remastered the audio, and he also cut out a lot of the breaks and things like that. And so if we watch it at like 1.25 speed, I feel like we can get through it. It was a 3-week trial, but I feel like we can get through it in about half the time. So I want to rewatch that in March. So if you want to join me, or if you want to do your own thing, but I'm going to rewatch it and restream it.
If I can. The problem is, of course, I still work.
Yeah, I do too. That's why I got to plan it way out in advance.
There's all these people who are like, "Oh yeah, I'm just going to watch this trial," and I'm like, "How?" Because I got to be in court and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, also, Ian, I also wanted to ask you too about your hot sauces, because is that available in the United States, or how are you selling them now?
I'm running into some problems with the FDA because the
Welcome to
FDA
America.
wants, yeah, the FDA wants like an FDA number for all of this, and I'm like, how do I get that?
No relation.
It's
you're so your hot sauces are like really really hot, right?
it's pretty hot. So I mean, it's not like I don't consider it on the Hot Ones challenge, which has like a 1 to a 10. And their 10 is like the Apollo Last Dab hot sauce. It's probably like a 7 or an 8. So it's still pretty.
Isn't 8 the bomb? And everybody hates that one more than 10.
Yeah,
everyone hates the bomb, but
it just tastes like fire.
It's not that it just tastes like fire; it tastes like paint. So Da Bomb is a chemical extract.
Do that to themselves.
It's a very chemical extract one, and so it just tastes bad. It's one of the ones where I was like, this isn't as spicy as some of the other ones, but I don't ever want to eat this again because it's gross. So,
but they are available in Canada.
Now here's the problem: is I just have got them ready. I'm just probably later today. I'm going to go into the garage and put all the remaining labels and what do you call it? The heat shrink seals on them.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm like, all right, now I can start shipping. Oh crap! It's winter, and winter in Edmonton hits like 40 below.
All those bottles are exploding before they get out of the.
And that's the problem is if I start sending a bunch of things that are like primarily water in glass, I'm going to be sending people a bunch of broken glass. So it's probably going to be that they end
up. I got out of my office just the other day and it was 71 degrees. And man, I was like, I had to wear a sweater and it was terrible down here.
No Floridians head north for their vacation in the wintertime.
Look at the evil elf powers activate.
Wait, can you actually taste?
Does
okay? So I believe it was Nicholas Starov has told me or mentioned that you're one of the few people on the planet that actually don't taste heat.
I mean, the thing is that you can detect that there's a lot of heat to something, right? So, if I get a hot sauce that's really hot. It's like, this is clearly a very hot sauce. So I've got here, this is Pucker Butt's Chocolate Plague.
Oh, I like where this is going. That's great. I like where this is going.
Really, really hot.
Know, it's so cool.
But
he'll like swig it. I can't.
But you can tell the difference between that and some of the other hot sauces. It's got a different flavor. But that's a matter of practice. Because if you haven't, like, if you start out and you think Frank's Red Hot is like top shelf, like this is as hot as sauces go, and you grab this,
you're in trouble.
All you're going to taste is suffering.
So I'm not a huge fan of hot, just for the sake of hot. I like spice, I like seasoning and flavor, so I don't eat a lot of hot sauce. But I have tried wasabi. Now, where in the line are we with wasabi here?
Wasabi is a different flavor entirely because it's not really. Yeah, I mean, wasabi is just straight, because you probably aren't actually eating wasabi. Wasabi is a plant that is incredibly expensive, and you'll know if you're getting real wasabi because they will bring out a root and a little grater, and they'll grate it at the table for you, and then they will charge you for the difference in weight between that root before and after, the same way they would with a truffle. Wasabi is incredibly expensive, but what you're actually getting is like horseradish with dye and a little bit of flavoring. And horseradish is a different kind of, it's still like it's got a bite to it, but it's a different kind of bite, if that makes sense.
Okay. Well, I don't like it, whatever it is.
Is
I mean,
wasabi too hot
I
for
like
you?
it, but my lower digestive tract intestinal system does not.
Wasabi?
No,
Wasabi's too hot for
wasabi's
me. I don't
fine. I'm
think.
talking about hot sauce.
Okay.
I used to love hot sauce, but it just at this age, I'm all getting old, and I can't take it. It doesn't agree with me, and so I just have to lower the temperature because otherwise it punishes me.
You know, I'm a big fan of a good chili salsa, a good habanero salsa. Get a little sweat going. You know,
I've
get the
got
eyes
like
watering.
I've got like a dozen hot sauces within reach. And some
That's
of them
a
are
weird
fun.
flex. That's a weird flex, Runkle.
Well, one, two,
any hot sauce in a hand grenade for me,
three,
you know you're in trouble.
4.
Look at it, I told you, it's amazing.
5. This one is the F. Trudeau hot sauce.
Oh, I like that one.
There you go.
Man.
I'm running out of arm. 7. 8.
Is it?
And these are all different.
To talk bad about the prime minister.
10.
Yeah, that's right. He's going to get abducted on screen.
11. That one's kind of a pain to get because it's got something else on it. 11. Let's see. I think I've got others in a drawer. Oh, yeah. 12.
Is that hot sauce
13.
in the bottle of the shape
14.
of a grenade?
Yes.
Yeah.
15.
Awesome.
16. 17.
Jeez.
Nope.
Oh.
He hit the
he pulled up the
computer
Trudeau
over
stuff
the,
and it froze him.
Oh, that's exactly what it was.
I cast time stop on him.
Ooh.
That's right. Enough of your hot sauce powers.
Oh,
that's awesome. He has so many of them. I think he likes hot sauce.
I think he's got. I'm going to be honest. I think there's something wrong with Ian Runkle. That's what I think. I think that's not a normal. That's not a normal hobby. That's not a normal taste bud palate. I can't do it. I can't do that hot, y'all. I can't. Do it.
You know, like you were talking about, like I like it. My wife made an excellent chicken chili the other night, and we've been eating it for the last few days, and it's really good. It's spicy though, but it has like a flavor. It's not just hot for the sake of hot. So I can't do that. Well, it looks like Runkle is frozen. Oh, there he goes. I was going to say, how long is he going to stay like that?
Hopefully he'll be back.
Yeah, I better get going too. I was up so late. I mean, I don't know. Last night was at night.
Oh, I see how it is.
You were up for a bit. I saw that.
You were hanging out with Mindset and Ricada. You got no time for Valhalla and MLS.
I'm here now. Actually, this is a really cool group. And I will say, Ian, thank you very much for the kindness that you showed. And I respect it. And this is a very nice group. And I'm honored to be on here with y'all. Valhalla and I, we're going to go to lunch, I think, on the following Monday. MLS, I got my media pass right here, ready for the suitcase murder trial.
Outstanding.
Nice.
If she doesn't plea, she needs to plea. But oh my God, she's not going to plea. I'm so excited.
She might. I'll tell you, this defense attorney, I'm seeing some superpower vibes.
She doesn't understand that she did anything wrong. There's no way she's going to plea.
I don't know. I like this new defense attorney. It's 8 is great, right? You know, so I think this is her 8th attorney. This was going to be the one that's going to talk her into a plea. I'm hoping
Southern law clarified that because I think there were a number of those attorneys that backed out right away. Oh, what's that?
Yeah.
What the hell is that?
So I got up to about 20 and then I looked up and my browser had crashed. But I also have this, which is dried Carolina Reapers.
Ooh.
How often do you eat those?
What do you do with that?
Those you eat very, very carefully. Like I'll break off a piece of that and put it in something because I can tell you that kind of stuff is actually a lot more dangerous to play with than the hot sauces because that'll land in your stomach and just like burn a hole in a specific part of your stomach as opposed to just general hurt. So
see, I was going to be like, "Hey, what do we got to do to get you to eat one of those whole peppers on stream right now?" But I don't want anything to do with that.
If I had a fresh Reaper, I would, and I have eaten Carolina Reapers on stream before just because they're tasty.
Have you always liked this kind of heavy heat like this? Or?
I mean, I just kind of grew into it and started eating more and more of it, and then eventually it was like I discovered that I was eating
We'll get
more
back
than
to it
most
in a
people.
minute.
I went to a friend brought me to like a hot wing eating contest, and I just kind of blew through it, and I was like, "What was like? I thought these were going to be hot," and they're like, "We're dying." So I was like,
Well,
"All
do
right."
you really have some sort of genetic ability to process hot?
It's just that I keep eating it. That's really what it comes down
I got
to.
something else for you. Did I show you this before? Check this out.
Oh, you did, and it makes me want to like get into a plane, fly out, and do like a Mission Impossible style burglary.
Well, you know what we
stand
should.
with it.
I'll tell you. You know what I can do. I will. What we could do is we could do an auction of this on your next charity auction stream.
Oh,
I have that book.
No, you don't have this book. You
No,
don't know
you
what
haven't
it
The
is.
original.
You know what it is. Oh, but is that? Well, let me see.
Does it have Does it have Cthulhu in it?
Ooh, maybe not. What page, Steve?
Nerds.
Hold on. It also has Melnibonian. So just look up at
Is that
does it
D&D?
have this,
I don't even know what that is.
It's D&D.
Yeah, it's D&D. Okay. Look like D&D.
which is
So basically,
page
they
86. Look at page 86. See if you have Elric.
their first printings included stuff that they didn't have rights to.
Sure do.
Oh, it does. Look at that. His
Sure
is in
do.
much better condition.
This was my old
Wow.
man's.
Yeah,
Very.
that's actually a really rare book because
Here's the other one. Page 43.
Comparing D&D books.
No,
well,
hey,
because they printed that once and then they couldn't again.
Oh yeah, we got Cthulhu, baby.
wow.
Why couldn't they
this
print
one's
it
all
again?
beat up. Look at that one's all bit.
But now I'm interested. Why were they not able to print it again?
Cthulhu was a trademark or copyright by somebody else, and they got in trouble.
Yeah, the
So they had to
1980
remove Cthulhu.
Chaosium had the rights, so the 1980 printing includes it, and the 1981 they don't. So
Oh, okay.
Hey Valhalla, you bring that. I'll tell you. You bring that. You're already -4. I'll make it -5. I'll bring you this. You will get
4?
the Brucey printed proof 1 of 1.
Oh.
The printed proof. This is the only one that exists, and I will trade you 1 of 1 Brucey and wipe out your credit with the Ghazni -4 stream in exchange for your deities and demigods that you have. Just bring it to lunch.
And I get your deities and demigods?
Yeah.
Deal, bro. I'll take that all day.
Okay.
all right.
All day.
And then Ian, even though I'm making this deal, I will also say that because we could do some charity stuff, because I mean, you know, my books are very limited in nature.
I was too disorganized to get a lot of the stuff because Steve very generously offered a bunch of his books, and I was midway through the stream, and I'm like, I don't know how to add these right now.
Yeah, it's no problem. But you feel free to call, and you did a great thing there. Raised a lot of money for good cause.
And you find out it's worth hundreds of thousands.
What, my Brucey book? I know that's a good deal.
And it was at that moment I realized Steve is a cutthroat.
Well, actually, you know, the one that somebody said is that this thing is worth a lot of money, which is my Silver Surfer #1.
Holy shit.
Ooh, is that a first print?
Ooh, look who's joining us for Nerd Time.
And this is actually in
Sorry.
mint condition. It is, when I got this back in the day, I bought the best quality one I could possibly get. And somebody was saying that these things, you get them graded or something.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be right back. I'm just going to Gosney's house to like Mission Impossible my way in and like steal all the things.
But
Murph's Turf has gifted 5 memberships to the Goat Herders. They're going out to Steve Gosney, Stacy Morrissey, Sally Dog 78, Atheist Ant, and Bobby Baloney.
Look at
Murph's
this here.
Turf,
See
you're
look
awesome.
at the edge on the Surfer here. See, this is
You got to put that back in glass. Oh,
Yeah,
it's
don't
still in
touch that.
plastic.
Why are you touching that?
It's
It's
in
in
Why are you
plastic.
touching that?
But look at the edge on that. See how good that is? Because these books are known for collapsing. But I think, can you see that?
Oh,
Oh, nice.
I'm full of envy right now.
So I think that I don't know what this would grade out on, but I think I'm a big Silver Surfer fan.
That's
and
pretty.
And I've always wanted. This was the one comic I love, Silver Surfer, and that was the one. So when back in the day when I was single, I said I want a really good Silver Surfer. So I bought this decades ago, the best quality I could get, and now somebody says it's worth something.
Nice. I have so many comics that are absolutely destroyed that I read so many times as a kid and are probably worth nothing. That's my collection. But I still like reading them.
I'll
Put it back. Put it back.
Put it back.
It's in plastic. It's okay.
That's what she said.
Show and tell. But I mean, we're fellow nerds here. You can appreciate such things.
Oh, I appreciate and I am envious.
I played D&D once.
You were just telling me about this the other day. We were just talking about this like 3 days ago.
I played it once, but I don't remember playing it. I don't know really how it's played. But I remember thinking it was cool, and then I never played it again. And that was like in 6th grade or something.
I told him once he told me this story that D&D really boils down to the group that you play with. It's only going to be as awesome as the group that you can gather.
Well, Hollis going to bring me in on a game once. Can
We're
you play
gonna
it virtually, or do you have to be like in person?
You can do both.
You can do both.
I've seen Rocco. I've seen you play it on streams with like Rob and Legal Boys and Hogue. Yeah. By the way, Hogue, I pass his office every day on my way from between my office and in my house. And one of these days, I always want to be like, hey, but he's not.
Yeah, you should go in and say hi sometime. Just absolutely blow his mind.
Is he back in the office? Is he doing good?
He's doing amazing because for the people in chat who don't know, he had a massive stroke. He had one of those, but for the very quick actions of Mrs. Hogue, because he came downstairs and he was like, from him telling the story, was like he had a massive headache. He was, kind of disoriented, and she'd been watching House. And so she was like, hey, can you smile? Can you lift your arms? Can you this? And, he's like, he was just irritated. He's like, I just want to get to bed. I'm just going to sleep it off. And she's like, no, you're getting in an ambulance right now because I think you're having a stroke.
God
that saved his life.
Women that save our lives.
Can I make a public service announcement regarding that? Because my understanding is that you need to be able to distinguish the signs of stroke. And if you have a loved one near you that starts exhibiting those signs, you get them to the emergency room as soon as possible because they have drugs that they can administer within the first few hours of a stroke that will rapidly improve the chances of full recovery after a stroke, but it has to be done quickly. So if somebody starts exhibiting the signs of stroke, immediately take them to the emergency room and ask for that drug to be administered as soon as possible.
And the thing is that the initial stroke kills a bunch of brain cells, but a bunch of them also start dying after that. So you're on time, like you're on a clock. And
what is the smile and stick your tongue out check? Is that like literally smiling and sticking your tongue out? I don't know that one.
Smiling is just to see if you've got the same muscle tension on both sides.
Congruent sides of the face.
Yeah. So
Fiery Red podcast. The drugs are called thrombolytics.
Yeah, and it depends on which kind of stroke you're having, which kind of drugs they'll administer. But
the quicker you give the doctors a chance to give you that, it's a miracle drug that has. I mean, it is like the difference between permanently disabled and 85% recovery. But it has to be real close, and so it's very important. So, like she says, facial muscle. If you see somebody, check them. Just say, like, you're acting funny. What's going on? Because the person that it's happening to will not necessarily be conscious of it. So help them. Help your loved ones that are nearby you with this.
Yeah.
So I'll have to. One of these days, I'll have to stop by and say hey. But I don't know. I feel like that's kind of weird, but I might just do it.
I mean, we're online. We're all kind of weird.
Facts.
Right.
This is there is an odd group of folks that I came into this. How did I get roped into this? But there is sort of a not everybody is normal that's in this world of internet. It's like,
Yes.
I've realized.
I think that the normal is the exception.
It's like, what?
Yes.
What?
The normal on the tubes is the exception.
Yes.
Yep.
If
Well-
you stick your tongue out, apparently it'll drift to one side.
Oh,
Interesting.
really?
Well, not
having
being
a
able to
stroke.
speak, having a paralysis in one side of your face, just physical testing. Those are things that stroke things are basically a brain aneurysm or a brain that can, and you can kill a part of your brain. But if you get that drug, I learned about this because we had a stroke. Somebody in my, close to me, I would say, had a stroke, and they got that, and they got it back. Oh, I have another miracle, and this was what it was spurred on because Ian was supporting a hospital with a big charity and raised like $100,000 along with a group of law tubers and did great things. And some of the things that the medical science can do is amazing. My friend that I'm going in West Virginia, he had a tremor in his hand. And so whenever he'd concentrate, like to pick up a glass of water, it would rattle and he couldn't even sign his name. Now, if he just ignored it, it wouldn't. But as soon as he concentrated on it, it would rattle like this. And it got to the point where he couldn't even sign his name or eat properly. And he went into the hospital and they had this thing where they clamp your head and they zap your head with intracranial sonic waves, sound waves. And it fixed his hand.
Huh.
I mean, I've never heard of such thing. He was telling me it's a relatively new bit of science, but because of this tremor in his hand, he was able to fix that. I've never heard of such thing, but he was showing me. He was showing me before and after, and it happened immediately.
As an individual with traumatic brain injury and multiple concussions over the course of my lifetime, that sounds absolutely terrifying.
Yeah, right.
Mike Hunt, thank you for the $20 super sticker. You're the GOAT.
Yeah, all the super stickers and chats are coming your way today. I don't know.
Well, hey, listen. Sometimes the good guys win. That's all that I'm saying.
Yeah,
sometimes.
all right, fair enough.
Hey, I'm going to duck out, guys. All right. Thank you.
Take care, Steve. Thanks for joining us.
Good to see you.
Thank you, Gosney. I'll see you in like a week, I think, right?
Monday. Yes. See you on a Monday following.
And go order his book if you haven't, guys, already. Order his books. I ordered like 5
Brucey
books
the One-Eyed Wonder Dog.
Yes, and I will ship them out when I get back from vacation because
I was wondering where my books were.
It'll be before. It should be before Thanksgiving.
Available on stevegosney.com, right?
Yes, all the books. But Brucey the One-Eyed Wonder Dog is the one which we'll see if Valhalla pulls through, but I don't know. But it's a great Christmas book gift for your children. It's a children's book. It's a early reader, and the idea is to be able to sit on your lap and read to your child about Brucey and about his overcoming a disability and living life despite our limitations. That's what Brucey, it relates to everybody. Every little kid feels inadequate, and make them feel loved. Brucey the One, only available for me at stevegosney.com. Okay, enough of that stuff. Hey, good night, all.
Good night, brother.
Take care.
Love you.
Night. All right.
Gosney's so good.
Runkle, did you want to bow, or are you going to stick with us? Because we still have the rest of the day of the trial to go through.
Oh, I probably need to get some stuff done for court tomorrow and so forth. So thank you so much for inviting me, and
thanks for coming.
Oh, well, happy to. And if it was another day, I'd stick around, but
no worries. My hearing got canceled tomorrow, so I'm going late.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, tomorrow's gonna suck as it is, but so all right.
Well, you were definitely here for all of the important stuff, so I would like to thank you for that, and I'm sure.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, no,
McKinley, wonderful to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Fantastic trial notes. So that's always much appreciated because it makes it possible to go through all this stuff. And it sounds like you got to get a channel going so that we can all.
She has a channel. She has a channel. Legally live.
There we go.
Live.
Yeah, legally
now I gotta,
live. There's.
All right, I got to go subscribe to that right away.
Check out her day 6. It's beautiful.
She took it off. She took it off before we got
going
live. Yeah.
She tried to do like a pre-recorded stream where she was then going to like edit it on YouTube, and it went live with all of her like, all right, let me start that over again. And
even did an outfit change in the middle of it.
Oh, I love the moments when I've accidentally left in an edit, or recently I had one where I was like, so I was planning to edit in a visual joke, talking about how the ATF would be better at, like, they're not doing well because they're shooting at targets that look like this instead of targets that look like this. And I was planning to edit in like standard target versus like silhouette of a dog.
Never happened.
But I never actually remembered to do the edits. So people were like, was that intentional? And I'm like, no, it was very much not intentional. I just suck at the edits. And then I was like, if I take it down and re-upload it, it'll mess with all the analytics. So I'm just leaving it.
Shit. What did I tell you, McKinley? If that's your biggest YouTube mistake, not a big deal.
Okay.
So long as you don't ever appear on a stream with like no pants, you're doing good.
Pants are prison. Stop the prejudice against no pants people.
There's a reason why Valhalla's not going to stand up on this.
You're damn right.
All right. So with that, I will bow out. See you guys next time.
Thank you, buddy. We appreciate you. Go check out Ian Runkle, y'all. He's also got a channel called The Roll of Law, I believe. I'm pretty sure that's right.
The Roll of Law could, if some of our mods could stick it in the chat, that would be great.
Please. I'm pretty sure it's The Roll of Law.
And then McKinley's, someone.
It's in chat. I tried to pull it up and almost broke my entire studio when I did it. So there it is. Found it.
Oh, I didn't know we could see chat.
Oh yeah, you can see chat.
McKinley. We're working
on her. She's new.
We're gonna show you so many things, girl. We're gonna show you so many things.
Yeah, The Rule of Law. I haven't watched much of that. I watch his normal Runkle of the Bailey stuff more often. But
Runkle's awesome.
All right.
Obviously.
I appreciate both of them coming on. As soon as I saw all the firearm toolmark expert stuff, I immediately thought to reach out to both of them, and they both said, yes, awesome, send me a link. So that was very cool. So I'm glad they were able to join us and help us through some of this stuff because I don't know it. It sounds like this defense attorney does. So I'll be excited to see day 8 morning as the cross continues. But we're going to go back to day 7 morning. So this is Monday morning examination and go from there. Roll of Law, there it is. Valhalla, you're up.
Way up to the top. I got to get there first, man.
All the way up to the top, man. All the way up to the top. Daniel Portney. Now he was on the stand on Friday, wasn't he, or on Thursday? Yeah. Yes. Okay. So this is a continuation of the exam. Somebody asked Nunya, I think, asked if this was an interesting time. It is, and we have Audra. If you guys are new, we have Audra here, who's in Austin, has been sitting and giving us notes. And then we also have McKinley, who's on the panel, who's been sitting and giving us notes as well. And so we've been reading these notes since this trial isn't covered by television cameras. So thanks to both of them, we've been able to cover this. It's been really
if it wasn't for these two lovely ladies, we would be shit out of luck on this entire trial, to be completely honest.
Yeah, we would just be talking about Legos or something stupid.
How dare you, sir? David Portnoy's older brother. Extraction report from MW. Mo Wilson phone.
Wait, what?
What are you reading? Day 7 Armstrong notes. Are you reading day 7?
Yeah.
Yeah. Daniel Portnoy. Dave Portnoy's older brother.
Oh.
From Barstool Sports. It was a joke. Keep up with the class,
okay,
y'all. Good Lord.
I was so confused. Oh my God, I was so confused.
One Barstool joke that throws everybody off. You kept up with D&D books for like 20 minutes, but you can't get one Barstool Sports joke.
Nope. It went right over my head.
Extraction report for Mo Wilson's phone on 5/11/22 shows activity until 9:13 p.m., 2 minutes before the gunshots video. Armstrong.
So her phone was active until 2 minutes before she was shot. Essentially, is what that's saying.
Her phone was active.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
That's so sad.
Isn't it though? Armstrong's extraction report: phone turned off at 7:30 p.m. on 5/11 until 9:47 p.m. This is when she pulls to the side of the road right before she stops at the final point on GPS, which was their house. The iPhone 11 report belonged to Kaitlin Armstrong. Image of a person on a bike. DP. Daniel Portnoy.
There you
Daniel
go.
Portnoy.
I didn't even know it. My own.
I got there. Material saved in cache isn't purposefully saved by the user. It is possible the iPhone 11 was looking at image on Instagram thumbnail. Multiple photos of Mo Wilson saved in cache from Armstrong iPhone 11 phone, which means she viewed those pictures.
Yeah, so she basically went on Instagram, Mo's Instagram, the victim's Instagram, and saved a bunch of pictures.
Well, but it doesn't though.
Yeah, I know.
We'll get there. It doesn't mean she saved them.
Oh, yeah. You're right. Okay, I remember now.
Photo on iPhone 11. Kaitlin Armstrong's photo sent or received by this device via text on 1/13/22. Daniel Portnoy describes the photo depicts individuals at a shooting range. Strickland's call log. Armstrong call answered at 4:42 p.m. on 5/11, the day of the murk. Armstrong call not answered at 6:24 p.m. on the day of. 9:07 p.m. call answered from Alan Abel owner. Last 8 minutes, 58 seconds. He was already on the stand, yo. That was the guy that was buying cassettes and the other thing that I mistook for.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Gunshots heard at 9:15 p.m. This is ending around the same time the gunshots are heard. Court viewed entire spreadsheet from Colin Strickland's phone extraction that shows blocked contacts. Court viewed entire lists 98 contracts. Holy shit.
Contacts that are blocked. Previously heard a figure in the 70s during CS's testimony. Jury also just saw that the contact with Mo Wilson's email address was on the block list. But Christine Wall was not blocked. Christine was one of the other prior exes, and the testimony from Colin.
That was the alias.
Oh, that was the alias. That's right.
Not that. Yeah, that's what you call it.
Yeah, that was her alias. That was he saved her name. Colin saved Mo's name or phone number under a different name that was not blocked. The allegation was that Christine was going through and blocking all these numbers. Colin's testimony was essentially like, I block a bunch of people's numbers. I block, telemarketers and things like that.
Yeah.
That wasn't Kaitlin's testimony. It was Colin's testimony.
No, but you said Christine, but you meant Kaitlin was going through and blocking them.
Oh, yes. I apologize. Okay. S8 device. Valhalla, you reading? No?
I will be in a second. My bad.
S8 device is an iPhone SE 2022 model. Either brand new or factory reset. Appears to be new because received new box along with charger, etc. Received two SIM cards with this phone. Only phone received that had more than one SIM card. No backup. Daniel Portier testified about an oddity, which was that the numbers on one of the SIM cards did not match up with another element on the phone. There was a phone number associated and found the number belonged to Kaitlin Armstrong or K Armstrong. Portnoy tried to extract Armstrong's laptop. It was encrypted. Extract Wilson's laptop. It was encrypted. Lenovo ThinkPad. Appears Kaitlin Armstrong used Instagram to look at Mo Wilson's account on 5/1/22 due to photos of Wilson being saved in a cache. Data from Kaitlin Armstrong's phone equals photos and messages. Kaitlin Armstrong message from Kyle Sanders, 11/7/21. How'd that whole thing work out? Kaitlin Armstrong. Messages, Kyle Sanders, 11/7/21. Well, today is his birthday. He's at home with a 24-year-old who may or may not have moved to Austin, and I'm in Tulum solo. Mostly practicing sound health healing, meditating, teaching some, heading to a massage now then Temescal ceremony for a detox and rebirth. Fucking hippies. I know. I saw the rebirth thing earlier. I'm like, oh my God, the rebirth thing. Okay.
I don't think it worked.
Yeah, you don't think what?
I don't think the rebirth thing worked.
Oh, yeah. Cross-examination. Celestine.
Yeah.
Okay. Asked
Barely.
about the 30 images report showing Kaitlin Armstrong looked at photos of Mo Wilson on 5/1/21, points out Portnoy says it's very much possible Wilson photos were in cache because Armstrong was looking at Instagram. Daniel Portnoy, I'm always careful in explicitly saying.
So I want to stop there real
anything-
quick because you were talking about, or earlier the testimony was talking about as if the images were saved, but now it looks
Right.
like they're saved like as like metadata in the
Yes.
phone that you went and looked at this picture on Instagram, not that you actually saved the photo.
Yes.
Yeah. Or even apparently that you were just like scrolling through and
We're about to hit that exact verbiage, but
All
yeah, the point is that just because your cache saved the image doesn't mean you saved the image. It just means that it was on the screen of your phone at one point in time.
Yep.
Daniel Portnoy, I'm always careful in explicitly saying anything is 100% when I look through data. Points out that merely scrolling on Instagram could create a cached image. DP agrees. Asked about the scantily clad woman in the photos. She was wearing shorts, pants, and a bra. Asked if he knows the context. DP, no. Then he explained he knows very little about the case. Asked if phone powering off on 5/11 means it was manually turned off. DP says he cannot prove that. Could have been battery dying. Defense questions reliability of software used to track Kaitlin Armstrong's Jeep. Jury saw animated map on Thursday and DP's process of analyzing raw data. Redirect. Asked about multiple scenarios where it's not legal to extract data. Trying to get at the they didn't need a warrant argument I was making, and apparently they were making today.
This is redirect though.
on redirect. Yeah, because they were trying to like fight against that because earlier I think defense had made that argument.
Okay.
Like in cross.
Yes.
And so they bring this up on redirect, like you're gonna get a recross. So I don't know. Crazy.
He says that is correct. He doesn't decide which devices he is going to do on extraction on. Detectives, DA or owner of device make that call. He just does the extraction. In this case, owner of device gave consent to extract this laptop. Says the GPS data is reliable. Asked him if
I take his word for it.
Right.
Well, if he says it, I mean why would he lie? He's sworn in under oath. He can't lie.
People say that all the time in court, and I'm like, oh man. Right.
Asked him if he manipulated the GPS data to get a specific result, and he says he can't change the data to fit the case better. Sometimes data initially received does not become significant until later in the investigation. Sometimes data can also get lost. Weird how that works when the state's in charge of the data.
Yeah, Nunya, no cameras in the courtroom, but we have McKinley and Audra here in the chat that have been sitting in and taking notes for us. So we can bring you all of this content. So you got to thank them.
I'm thanking both of them.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, shit, I lost my spot.
How often is trial and error a part of your process? DP, a big portion of our job.
Cross-examination. The owner can consent to a search extraction, don't need a search warrant, or it can happen because of a search warrant. Don't need consent. Yes to both. Wait, what? The owner can consent to a search extraction.
Yeah, he's saying like you can consent or you can get a search warrant, and he's saying yes to both.
Okay. Probable cause that someone has committed a crime is not a requirement in all cases. No. Nothing you have testified to last week or today tells us Kaitlin Armstrong drove that Jeep. No. That was not the focus of his data, so no. Redirect. Have you identified any errors in the infotainment system data? No, not in my data.
Right.
New witness, Brandy Stanfield.
DA Digital Forensics, certified examiner of digital forensics and analysis.
Asked to view an iCloud account. Look for evidence of defendant.
That's like, oh yeah, for defendant. Sorry.
I got there. My bad. Look for evidence of defendant using or training herself with a firearm and found such evidence that hadn't been located previously. States 402 to 114. That math doesn't add.
That's not correct. That should probably be something different.
Maybe 414, 402 to 414.
Probably like 414.
That makes more sense. She recognizes them in pics of what she found while searching the iCloud. Moves to introduce, and again, Kofor asks to approach to make an objection to specific exhibits. Kofor's kind of an ass, ain't he? A little bit.
He's super nice.
All right.
Is he super nice? Is he good?
What I mean, he's not. I mean, I would be way more of an ass.
Okay.
For sure.
So he's not assy enough.
He's not.
He did the States opening, right?
No, that was Purrier. And yes, he is.
No, the States, not the defense.
No, that was
There's
Jones.
Kofor defense.
Yeah, Kofor's he's the lead defense attorney with the glass. Oh, well, you don't probably know.
I have no idea what he looks like. I've never seen him.
I know. We haven't seen because there's no cameras.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot.
So the only lawyers I have a recognition of is Poirier and who was the States opener? Ricky Jones. Those are the only two I have a face for.
Yeah.
All this stuff comes from her iCloud. Gun safety with the Jilly Z and Kaitlin Armstrong. Hashtag bang bang. 112-22, 5:37 p.m.
That's what the Instagram story had on it. It was a picture of her, and the hashtag was bang bang, and she was shooting a gun.
As it should be.
Yeah, bang bang.
Hashtag pew pew.
Yeah, pew pew.
Have to go kill somebody. Pew pew.
Well, now that she's
in hindsight, it doesn't look good.
Right. Now that she's on trial for murder one, it kind of looks a little bad.
Post his new gun on Facebook at one point, a picture of it sitting there's like, look at this beauty. And I was like, it's cool and all, man, but you might want to take it down just in case. You know?
Y'all don't post, don't put your firearms.
Yeah,
online.
don't.
Just
bad idea.
Keep that information to yourself, please.
Yeah, this next thing is a sign-in book, and it had Allison Page, which is like her alias that she used for her surgery, and like I think mainly for her surgery. But everybody around me got something different for if it was like a sign-in book for the yoga or at the hostel, or if it was at the gun range. Who knows?
Okay.
Well, it's dated June 24, 2022. No, I'm sorry.
610.
No, I'm reading ahead.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So
610.
I think it had to have been in Costa Rica.
610. She would have been in Costa Rica.
That had to have been Costa Rica.
Yeah, unless somebody else was signing her in somewhere, but I don't know why the state would have put that into. So yeah, had to have been.
Had to have been Costa Rica.
One of the quotes used against Turtle Boy is bang bang. Yeah, see? Poor Turtle Boy.
Poor Turtle Boy.
That was taken completely out of context, by the way. His bang bang was in direct reference to Colin. I think his name is Colin. Colin's video with bang bang on it. And he was like, oh, yeah, you think you're cool? Bang bang. And now he's being charged with making a threat.
Everything about that case is also ridiculous. 610 Allison Page, sign a book from Costa Rica for a yoga place or hostel. That's not what, okay. 6:23:22, 8:48 p.m. Pic of her face after surgery. Pic of her temples with stitches. 6:23:22, 6:32 p.m. Pic of her nose and eyes and a hooded jacket. 6:24:22, a script for Allison Page from Jorge Badia.
And the email I guessed on. I don't know how you spell it.
Fair enough. 408, pic of her with bandaging around her nose. 409, profile pic of her with new nose and brow and bandage. 626. 410, bandage around nose and profile. 411, front view with bandage. All of these were 626. Exhibit 412, front view with bandages on 626 in swimsuit, looking top front facing selfie.
All right.
Top front. That's my favorite.
Okay, so it was a swimsuit looking top, angle. And this was a like face on
straight on.
Selfie. Yeah.
Okay. I got it. The swimsuit looking top
Yeah.
front-facing selfie.
I needed some
I picked it up right away. What's the problem?
Well, I needed a comma. That's what I needed. I needed a comma. Exhibit 413, side view of nose with packing in nose. 626, still a selfie, but more profile. Still wearing swimsuit-looking top.
See, I'd rather see an autopsy than these photos. I'm glad we didn't get to see this.
Oh yeah, it was infuriating.
No comment.
Right.
Exhibit 414, 622. Front view of swollen lip, headphones in ears, bruising on her nose, and bandage also from 626. Looks like she is doing pouty face.
Yeah.
None yet.
Duck
Yeah, let me tell
lips.
you. So this woman fled to Costa Rica and got plastic surgery. This is her before and after. If you're not familiar with this case, this is before is on the left, obviously. Well, not obviously, but after is on the right. And yeah, so that's what she did to herself.
She
Brow
was
lift,
so much
nose
prettier before. I don't know.
Well,
I mean,
it's
I
being
guess-
pretty in prison or ugly
Right.
in Costa Rica, right? It's like
I guess it's if you're fleeing for your life. Yeah, that makes, eluding the authorities and all that nonsense.
Yeah, I mean, I get it, but like she did a terrible job at all of this.
Well, yeah. She didn't do a great job of fleeing.
No.
She made it like a month and a half. 416, exhibit 416, DVD images she found forensics report from Apple iCloud. Messages from WhatsApp application contained here. That weird email for her yoga thing. I don't remember how it's spelled.
And that means between
Ari and other users. User named Universal P appears to be a cosmetic surgeon scheduling person.
Okay.
Armstrong's iCloud dump, WhatsApp data, local user, the owner of the account, name on the WhatsApp being used in Ari. Ari is labeled as local user, asking about pricing and availability for rhinoplasty surgery, how much I can expect to pay, and how long the procedure takes.
she just went on vacation. She went on, what do they call it? Like a surgery vacation, right? Where you go out of the country to get surgery.
Exactly.
I think Hollywood calls it rehab.
To come back.
I'm pretty sure it's called
cheaper
rehab.
in Costa Rica. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure it's called rehab.
Holy, $3K, and the pricing I think did go from like $3K to $6K, which I think is crazy. I don't think that's how much it costs here.
They doubled it up.
Yeah, I know. I don't know what made it the difference.
I do, because she used a fake name and they saw right through that. They were like, "You're up to something, girl. So we're gonna get paid, guaranteed."
I think or maybe it was because of the brow lift. Also, she got 2 procedures.
She's trying hard to get everything done the same day. Finally makes an appointment for June 10th at 3 p.m. She tells Universal P her name is Aria Roberts on 6/8. Dr. Mandolin?
Yeah.
I don't know how you say
Medallion.
Mandolin. Isn't he the...
There's no N.
One?
You're adding an N.
but Mandolin. Isn't he the one that worked for the Austrian artist? Might be mistaken.
Mengele.
Mangolin or whatever. Okay, never mind. I said it wrong even.
Yeah, way wrong. Way wrong.
That communication with the WhatsApp account regarding this. All right, so cross. We gotta highlight cross here. So this is the cross.
Oh yeah, sorry.
It's okay. I'll do your job for you.
States Exhibit 402 shows the jury but does not walk over and show them there is no way they saw it. Asking about a social media account and the name in the top. Asking if that is Instagram. Does this appear to be a screenshot of an Instagram account or something different? What is that name? Stories of Christie. And there's a pic of a woman next to the profile, correct? Yes. Does the hair appear to be curly or straight? From that distance and size, I can't tell. 2 accounts tagged. One is Kaitlin Armstrong and one is Jilly Z. It says add to your story, right? Okay. Does it appear someone took a screenshot of this photo? Yes, appears to be. And does it appear to you that Christie posted this? I guess. He's trying to say that the date does not mean this was the date the image was taken, that it could have been posted months later. Lots of nothing from defense on that cross.
I wish I could edit. Can you take that out? I don't have to be so evil. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. We didn't see that. Nobody saw that.
Nobody.
It never happened. It never happened.
Just like my Day 6 recap.
David, exactly. I only saw part of it. David Lapino, GM of the range, general manager of the range at Austen in Austen, Texas, a shooting range, a clothing store, and some kind of a club strip. Sounded like product club, but I don't think that's what was said. Been the GM since 2018. States 417 provided to defendant 9/7/2022. Tries to introduce and Kofor asked to approach again. It's a business records affidavit with records attached pertaining to the range. Judges looking through all of it. It's admitted. Published to the jury. Commercial invoice, vendor bill from Ammo Inc. showing they bought 9mm ammo from them, $44,000.
Dude, and
Ammo
this,
Inc.
apparently they do this every month.
Well, they should send a month to me. Ammo Inc. is a brand of ammo, 12/26/21. Day of the order.
So this is the range's receipt for the amount of ammunition.
I gotta pee.
Yeah, it's not Kaitlin.
Yeah, this is not Kaitlin. This is This is how much ammunition the Ammo Incorporated is sold at this particular range. All right. So the second page sales report from December 16, 2021. All the items sold on that date also shows how much of the Ammo Incorporated sold on that date. Let's see, 11/19/21 for same ammo and same amount, but earlier order. January 12th, 2022. Everything sold at that range on that date. This is another report. Sold 29 boxes of this ammo on that day. U.S. ePay batch manager reports from CC transaction shows the range processed a CC order 16:27. What is PST?
It really just means 6:27 p.m. our time.
Oh, okay. Oh, is that Pacific Standard Time?
Maybe that's what I meant.
Okay. It would have been 18:27 Central. Christine Armstrong, CC holder, 1353 was the amount lane rented. So she rented the lane for.
Yeah, I mean, I could have made that a lot easier, but see, I was just typing as I went along. So
no, it's fine. No, I prefer to hear it as the testimony is read because that's how we listen to these things. So, all right. So 1/12/2022 at 6:27 p.m. A record of the invoice at the range in the software shows she purchased the lane rental. This is the item she purchased. So so on that day she went to the range. US
and
ePay.
Her sister rented the lane on her credit card.
Yes. Yeah. 2597 credit card holder Kaitlin Armstrong shows she purchased a box of 50 bullets, Ammo Incorporated 9mm on the above date. Jill Zan customer account at the range that the Ammo Incorporated transaction was associated with, credit card used for the Ammo Incorporated purchase by Kaitlin Armstrong. So essentially, one day she went to the range.
Yes, and she purchased. Okay, so the most important thing, she purchased a box of these bullets that they're going to claim are used to commit the crime.
I like the cross. So Joffrey, I'm sure you're generally aware with terms used to describe different parts of a bullet, correct? Maybe. Okay. Individual named Kaitlin Armstrong purchased a box of 59mm bullets. To be clear, she purchased one box of 50 Amicable Incorporated 9mm bullets. Okay, well, so did 28 other people that day. Well, 29, but okay. Yeah, so 29 other people purchased. So bought that same day. GP calls the prosecutor, the government's attorney, I like that, and says the type of bullet far surpassed all other things purchased that day. Do individuals that go to the range for target practice, do they bring their own ammunition? The answer is yes. Not sure why they asked that, but okay. See, I would have asked a follow-up question, but do they have to, or are they able to purchase it? How often would somebody purchase bullets from you as opposed to bringing their own? All right. So he's lived in Austen since 2014. You guys say ATX.
This is the same person that's tagged in that Instagram, the Bang Bang.
Oh, I'm sorry. This is a new witness. I missed that.
Yeah.
See, so but this is where they ended it. I was looking for more.
And see, they forget to ask that next question.
Okay. The optics of the evidence doesn't look good for the defendant, in my opinion. The optics might not look good. No. And like Steve Gosney was talking about on Rekieta last night, it's not always about the strict adherence to the law, right? The optics, the way it appears. What does he say? Jury appeal. Jury appeal is big. And so that's why I always say, like, if you're going to say that you didn't do it, you need to identify a bad guy, because the jury wants to hear from a bad guy.
You have to see somebody else that did it, or think of somebody else who could have done it.
You have to give something for the jury to grab onto, as that's the bad actor. And I brought that up even in Letitia Stout case, where she's not the bad actor. Her mental health illness is the bad actor. Don't hold her accountable for that. You know, whether you believe it or not, whether the jury believes it or not, the jury needs some sort of bad actor.
Right.
Jill Zan, the other person tagged in the Instagram post, she lives in Austin since 2014. She is nervous. Do you know Kaitlin Armstrong? Points her out. Used to live in building with her sister. Her sister and I were friends and would see each other daily. Sis is Christine. Knew her about 2 years. Kaitlin Armstrong came around sometimes with her dog, to the big dog park in the back, and Christine and Kaitlin and I would be out there with our dogs. Certain familiarity with firearms, that was the question. Shot air rifle at camp when I was in Cali. My boyfriend taught me to shoot a bunch, and then I purchased my own gun. Let's see. I shot many guns many times, usually goes to the firing range. When you reads? Went to reads until, okay. That was the range. Okay. Christine contacted her casually to go to the range and said KA had just gotten a firearm and set up time to come to Zan's appointment so she could teach them gun safety rules. Or I'm sorry, apartment. So she can teach them gun safety rules, because it's too loud at the shooting range to do it there. Loading, safety, how to lay the gun before training or before turning around, how to load and get ammo. We met at the apartment in mid-January 2022 for gun safety session at Jill's apartment. They brought Kaitlin Armstrong's 9mm pistol. It was a black gun. Helped explain use and care of Kaitlin to Kaitlin and her sister. Did they handle the firearms there in the apartment? Yes. Did you go shooting? Yes. We went to the range to fire the weapons. When we got there, we rented a lane. Did you bring your own gun? Yes. Was the black 9mm also brought? Yes. Did you take your own ammunition? Yes, I brought my own. Do you recall if the defendant or the sister brought ammunition? Don't recall. Distance between target placements, 7.5 yards for them. So that's 21 feet about. Remembers that because they have pictures and there's a digital readout on the side of the lane so you can see it. The jury, there are two guys back row looking at family during all of this. All right, shows a picture of her, Jill, shooting from behind. Like a picture from behind her. Okay. Hearing that sound like a gunshot over the speakers in court, but not seeing the associated video. So they just play an audio sound?
Yeah, and it wasn't coming up, so it was just kind of like creepy.
Prejudicial.
This is Texas. Austin, Texas.
Austin, Texas.
Now it's Kaitlin Armstrong shooting at the range in slow motion with her long braids almost to her butt. Really? Tight jean boots. This is what you wrote down. A long sleeve black top. It looks like a red one under her ear. What? Under it, and ear protectors. Black top with the red one underneath it.
Yeah.
And ear protectors. Did you purchase any 9mm ammo? No. I have a revolver, 38 special. Wow, nice. I like this girl. So it does not take that. Was she a good shot? Don't remember. She hit the paper. Yes. Cross-examination by Kofer. You want to recall?
Was it the same day y'all went to the range when they went to your apartment for safety? Yes. You had met her a few times before this, right? Describe. Relaxed, casual, normal dog parky.
They went to a dog park.
She called it dog parky. That was like how someone was acting. Weird. I don't know.
Yeah, that's okay. Her demeanor on this day, which was the longest time she ever spent with her, was calm, nice, friendly. No issues that gave me pause about teaching her gun safety. She and sister both paid attention and tried to implement my corrections if I gave them. Eager to learn and follow instructions. Brought the 9mm in a case that looked like a suitcase with something spongy on the inside, like a gun case. One gun or more, don't remember. Did it have a lock? I don't know. I didn't see that. Did you teach Kaitlin Armstrong how to use a cable lock? No, actually, I don't know what that is. Why are you giving... don't give gun safety if you don't know anything about guns.
Exactly. Also, how did she not know what a gun case was? Like,
I don't know. It's like this black plastic thing, and there's like some sponge inside, but I don't know what it's used for.
Like, what?
A cable lock? What's a cable lock? Well, it is Texas, by the way. All right. So, I can imagine most people are just like carrying it around on their hip, throw it in the back seat.
I love the next question. So. The next question. Are you familiar with gun locks? Apparently not.
That's awesome.
Didn't teach her how to take off or put on lock. Did Kaitlin Armstrong demonstrate any kind of knowledge about firearms to you? Fair to say she seemed like an amateur? Yes. Maybe worse than that? No, I wouldn't say that. Why, Kofer? Why must you always push the questioning until you get an answer you don't want? Y'all get to target shooting? Did it appear either of them had any experience shooting a gun? Not extensive for sure. They were not expert marksmen at all. Did anything indicate to you that they had prior experience at a range? No. Did Kaitlin Armstrong appear to be taking it really seriously? We took the safety seriously, but we just went for fun to practice. She was very focused on the task at hand and on taking in all she could from the session. Was she focused in the session? You're not okay. Was she focused in a scary way or in a normal way? Fair to say she wasn't concentrating like someone planning a murder. I heard gasps in the court. She was so shocked. She was... I would have... I don't know. The jury didn't look amused by this question.
That's it, guys. By the way, I wanted to cut off Valhalla because then we're getting back into where we started.
I was there.
Interesting. That's an interesting cross for this one. Fair to say she wasn't concentrating like someone planning a murder.
Dude,
I will say this is the first day where I was actually like, okay, the defense is asking good questions.
Like the defense, actually. I've liked the defense since day one.
You did?
I did.
The opening statements and that whole it just looked bad.
You know what? I'm watching the other trial, Ivan whatever, in the Iowa case, right?
Yeah, all the family
the defense
each other.
The defense's opening statement is exactly what this defense attorney was trying to do, and nobody objected because
usually you don't get objections for that. That was crazy that Ricky was like objecting every 2 seconds.
Yeah, I don't like the prosecution.
Legal Vices was on the prosecutor's side on that one. He
doesn't know what he's talking about. He just wanted to be contrarian. That's all.
Yeah,
he's like, I saw MLS. Praising the defense and arguing against the state. So I'm going to do the opposite. We'll see.
He called me contrarian. He called me contrarian when he was doing this exact thing.
Cool. So we made it through day 7. I'm so glad that Ian and Gosney were able to jump on with us and explain some of this to him.
Super excited about that, y'all. This might be the best stream I've ever had on my channel, actually. Nice. Ian Runkle and Gosney, MLS, and McKinley.
I know I'm gonna have to go back and watch the part where they were and also hear what they said about the notes because I had a screaming child.
Yeah, you got to go back and watch it. Watch on my end though. Watch on my stream.
Stop it! Stop it!
What was I gonna say? So we already have Audra's notes for day 8. So I'm gonna spend a little bit of time putting that together. I do have the Iowa case that I'm gonna be streaming starting tomorrow morning at 9:45 a.m. Eastern, and then when that is done, we will set this up, and then I'll tease a little bit. I'm gonna do a Griff stream tomorrow if I can.
Ooh.
If I have time. Because I need some more money for the Crumbly camps. And I know you guys have been great support, but spread the word. We need everybody there. I'm literally probably just going to play video games until I get enough money to buy the rest of the equipment for the
What time?
camps. I don't know, because
Okay.
it depends on. So this case is going to go till 6, most likely 6 p.m. my time, and then I'm going to want to exit the treehouse at some point, at least for a minute or two. And so
you need
I'm
to get
thinking,
a urinal up there, man. That's what you need.
You know what? The bottles are starting to stack.
I was going to say a bucket, something.
But so I want to probably do this stream day 8 and then do the gift stream, because then I can just go. And I'll just do something on until we can I don't know. Let's see how it goes. We're gonna play it by ear. So
is the audio messed up, or is that just like on my end?
No, that was Dave's audio for some reason. Okay. Crackled a little.
No big deal. Audio.
We're good. It's been good all night. It's been good all night.
But I kept thinking it was like my computer.
I need to restart my computer because it started doing it towards the end of my trial stream today too. So I think it's something with the computer. I'm just going to restart it. What I was saying though, the grift stream. So James and Jennifer Crumbly are going to trial in January. They are the parents of the Oxford school shooter that happened in 2021, and they are actually in my county, and the trial is. And so I've been talking with the clerk. In fact, I just clarified today when I was in court earlier this morning. I said, so we're still doing a trial on the 23rd because now they have bifurcated the cases. They're not going to be tried together. And the clerk confirmed that, yes, at least one of them, we're not sure which one, is going to be starting on January 23rd. And I've been working with the court to have my own cameras in the courtroom for that trial. And so I've been grifting a little bit, actually, pretty much since I started streaming and got monetized, or even before monetization, about getting my own cameras in there. So, well, you have the seal of approval, by the way, from Jung. If you get Jung on your side, you're making it.
I was telling y'all, I like her. She's fun.
Yeah,
I like her.
Thanks, guys.
But so anyway, so I have some more equipment that I need, and so I thought maybe I would do a grift stream.
Well, if we do this stream tomorrow at an evening time, right? Hopefully.
Yeah, it'll be evening. It'll be after the Iowa case.
Well, then, yeah.
Unless I could convince Baker to take over the afternoon, but that's like 3 a.m. for him, so we'll see.
Yeah, that's pretty.
The only thing is that tomorrow, because remember that tweet that Alex tweeted out about closing might be streaming tomorrow, or like not streaming, but they have cameras in the courtroom. So if they really do closing tomorrow, then it'll be on television or like the internet.
I'm going to be prepared to pick that up and run with it live.
Okay, cool.
Live?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
I don't know if
I'm not going tomorrow because I think I'm sick now. So I'll probably just be watching your grifting stream or your trial or whatever you're doing tomorrow.
Well, I'm going to have like 3, potentially 4 streams tomorrow. So it'll be a good time.
Okay.
So cool. if I have the Iowa case plus this closing argument plus day 8 update plus the grifting stream, I could potentially have 4 streams tomorrow.
Do we need to do day 8 before the closing?
I mean,
well, and even if we do day 8 tomorrow, because we still got tomorrow morning.
Not necessarily, because we could go over day 8 when we're doing like verdict watch or something.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good call.
Yeah, and plus because they'll have they're not done with their witnesses yet. They'll still have more witnesses in the morning that even if it goes live, we still won't know what happened.
Okay.
Yeah, all day Dave tomorrow. Yeah, my hearing got canceled, and I'm gonna need to. I tried to bring my coffee maker up here today, and apparently it froze in the shop, and so it leaks water everywhere. So I don't have any coffee. I need to get prepared for tomorrow.
You need to get a Keurig.
Tomorrow's gonna be a marathon of streaming. It's like what I used to do back in like May. March.
How many hours did you stream today?
I streamed about 10 hours today.
So it's just another day for you, is what you're saying.
He does stream all the time.
I told you. I wasn't making that up. This dude streams all the time.
I don't feel like I stream enough because I have so many thoughts or so many streams that I want to do, and I don't have time to do them. Because
I'm
streaming. Like with people that sleep on stream?
I've seen that. That's weird.
It's weird.
Steve Gosney almost slept on stream one time.
He did sleep on stream. He was so drunk he passed out on his keyboard live on his stream.
It was awesome.
It was
It
awesome.
was awesome.
I am a giver. Look at see my hat says so.
Giver.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I've heard somebody like snoring on stream once. I don't remember who it was.
That could have been anyone.
Man.
There's so many people that have passed out on stream.
Right?
I'm amazed I haven't done it yet. I have a special ability. When it's time to leave, I know that it's time to leave, and I just immediately bounce.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've noticed that every once in a while. You just
I gotta go, y'all. Later. Done.
I try to like find a way out. I'm like, oh, I gotta go. I start usually popping it in private chat in about 20, 30 minutes ahead of time, and then I like try to weasel my way out.
There's no
and then I tried to get off of Ricada one time because it was like 3 a.m. and the chickens were being attacked by something. And I just hear like squawking all over the place. I'm like, oh my God, it's so late. It was like a Tuesday. I ended up staying for the full stream though. That was a good time.
You can't
So what
leave
happened
the
with
boat.
chickens?
Huh?
They all died. All of them. They were all murked by a bobcat. Yeah.
No, they were spooked by like a squirrel or something. I don't know. They're fine. Chickens. They're my downstairs neighbors, though. Sometimes they're a little noisy.
Your kids?
But my kids?
No,
your kids? Isn't that your downstairs neighbors? Your kids?
The downstairs neighbors are my chickens.
Oh, the treehouse. Got it.
Yeah, the treehouse. Got it. Yeah. I'm in a treehouse. Did you not hear?
No, I knew.
Where's my sign? Oh, there it is.
It's
oh, nice.
So, well, thanks everybody for chat. I don't know what else we're going to talk about tonight, but
actually, yeah, I think that's probably about.
I'm saving the notes. I'm going to upload them in Discord so you all can read. I also have those 2 articles that Steve Gosney sent. Those are in Discord, as well as the Maryland case that Runkle and Old Line Red were talking about. So that is also in Discord as well. And now I am just dropping it's untitled document, but it's actually, let me make sure it's the right thing. I want to put an untitled document in there. Yeah, no. Okay. So it's day 7 notes. All right. So that's in Discord as well. So if you guys are members, by the way, you have access to my Discord. If you haven't been there yet, click on the member tab, which will take you to a link to my Discord. Let Jungmin or Jamie or myself know your fuck it. That's what Jung says.
What Jung?
Your YouTube name. I'm sorry. That's what I was trying to say. Because sometimes your Discord name is different than your YouTube name. We just need a cross-reference. But Jung runs my Discord. So you guys get in there, say hi to her and Jamie, and definitely Feral Housewife as well. Make sure you tag her and everything.
Always tag Feral in everything, y'all.
Where are you redirecting everybody to MG Law?
Ooh, I didn't set that up at all.
See?
All right, we're gonna do this from memory. We're gonna do that.
What's happening?
Don't tell me.
There?
What?
I don't know what he's covering actually. He sent me a link, but he always sends me a link. What is
he didn't send me. MG will do this.
Unbuttoned and derailed Travis Rudolph trial.
Oh, he's back to Travis Rudolph?
He's back to Travis Rudolph, yeah.
Customization. MG does this thing where he'll send me a link for like 3 days in a row, and then I won't show up for any of the 3 days, and then he'll stop until like I show up in chat and be like, "Oh, here's your link." Immediately.
He does that to me too. Yeah.
And I don't even blame him. I feel like an asshole.
Yeah, no, I know. He does that to me too. And I keep telling him, I give him a thumbs up, and I'm like, hey, I'll try to jump on if I can. He always sends me links, though. It's cool. And then every once in a while, like I'll lay down and I can't sleep. I'm like, I'm going to go on MG stream.
Same.
And that's what I do. But then, sometimes I don't chat. I watch people, but I won't chat because I don't want the link, and I feel bad for turning it down. I'm like, I'm lying in bed. I'm tired. I just wanted to watch.
You know where I'm going to send my chat to? The expert.
Oh, is he streaming? Oh, it's Tuesday night.
Oh, I watched that the other day.
I'm sending my stream to the expert, yo.
All right, you guys have fun at the expert.
No, that's not what I watched.
What'd you watch?
The thing you were on.
That doesn't narrow down anything.
Yeah, I'm on a lot of.
It was like winning
reality.
Winning reality. Yeah. Okay. Winning reality. Yeah, guys. If you don't know, by the way, check out Winning Reality. I was interviewed on him last Saturday.
I did a show with him a couple months ago. It was a lot of fun.
I have to say, I didn't see you in chat during my show.
I was there, and I was very drunk and passed out within the first like 10 minutes of your show. I tried.
Yeah.
I was there.
I believe that. I believe that.
Mrs. Valhalla got home from work, and she was like, "What are you doing asleep on the couch?" And I'm like, "I don't fucking know." So that's where I was at that night.
Well, thank you, Michaela.
I gotta go.
God damn it,
McKinley.
McKinley.
It's like the mountain.
There's a mountain, McKinley.
It used to be called McKinley, but I think it's Denali now. Perhaps in Alaska. It's the tallest mountain in North America, guys. Come on.
It's just all sounds you make with your mouth, and I get close enough.
Close.
Thanks, everybody.
And on that note, chat, y'all fucking rock.
Yes.
We wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you.
You guys have a good night. Take care.
Go subscribe to McKinley.
Yes, do that too. Oh,
bye.
We need to drop that in there. All right, bye.
Later.
When I was young, my daddy said, gotta keep one eye open in your bed. Cause there's a time coming when the devil gonna come for you. So my trigger fingers stay prepared. I've got my weapon and I got my prayers.